Chapter 1672. Yi Qinyu glared at Qin Wentian. Her beautiful eyes seemed to be able to melt the hearts of men. However, Qin Wentian seemed to have a heart of stone. He didn't waver at all. This concerned Yi Qinyu's safety. He couldn't afford to be careless. I also don't have too much confidence. Right now, I still need to head to the outside world to search for the coordinates of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Qin Wentian spoke to Yi Qinyu. The distance between the 33 immortal realms was boundlessly vast. If one didn't have the exact coordinates, they might get lost in the starry space. Yi Qinyu acted like she didn't hear it, and continued to glare at him. Wentian. At this moment, a voice rang out in Qin Wentian's mind. His eyes flashed and he took out his messaging crystal. After that he sent a strand of his immortal sense in. Brother Qi, is there any news? The Saint Lord has replied. The voice in his mind rang out once more. The person who spoke to Qin Wentian was none other than the Gemini Palace Lord. Before this, Qin Wentian had already contacted them, and told them that he wanted to return to Azure Mystic. As for the Saint Lord the Gemini Palace Lord was referring to, it naturally wasn't him, Qin Wentian. It was the previous Saint Lord Yi. What did Senior Yi say? Qin Wentian hurriedly asked. Saint Lord suggested that you can head to Tiandao Sacred Academy. Tiandao Sacred Academy has the spatial coordinates, and can teleport to Azure Mystic. If Tiandao Sacred Academy is willing to help, you don't need to teleport there yourself. The Gemini Palace Lord spoke. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. Tiandao Sacred Academy, this name wasn't foreign to him. In fact, he was extremely familiar with it. Back then, he had once cultivated in Tiandao Sacred Academy for many years and completed a transformation. The Heavenly Dao Sacred Academy would only be able to enter Azure Mystic when ancient emperors were about to appear. And the truth also proved that the Heavenly Dao Sacred Academy's prediction was accurate. Qin Wentian had already stepped into the realm represented by ancient emperors. In a sense, he was also a student of Tiandao Sacred Academy. Now hearing about Tiandao Sacred Academy from the Gemini Palace Masters, Qin Wentian felt that Tiandao Sacred Academy seemed to be an extremely great force. Will Tiandao Sacred Academy be willing to help? Asked Qin Wentian. Since you know about the Tiandao Sacred Academy, you should have cultivated in Tiandao Sacred Academy before, right? Even if the Tiandao Sacred Academy isn't willing to help, there won't be much of a difference if you go there. That place is a sacred ground in the supreme ancient immortal realms. The Gemini Palace Lords laughed. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. A place that could be considered a sacred ground in the supreme ancient immortal realms, one could very well imagine how powerful it was. I don't have much understanding of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. What sort of power is this? Where is it located? Qin Wentian asked. The students of the Tiandao Sacred Academy can be found all over the world. It's rumored that the Tiandao Sacred Academy has the coordinates of the other 32 immortal realms other than the supreme ancient immortal realms. They can directly teleport there and guide their juniors in cultivation. For those who have cultivated in the Tiandao Sacred Academy before, all of them can be considered as students of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Also, the students of the Tiandao Sacred Academy aren't limited to the other 32 immortal realms. In the supreme ancient immortal realms, the number of people who went to the Tiandao Sacred Academy is countless. In fact, there are even many world overlords who went there to seek the Tao. The Gemini Palace Lords continued. And the location of the Tiandao Sacred Academy in the supreme ancient immortal realms is Daosk City. That place isn't under the jurisdiction of any power. The Tiandao Sacred Academy itself doesn't seek hegemony. It only wants to spread the Tao. If not, the Tiandao Sacred Academy would already be a supreme power. In that case, the Tiandao Sacred Academy is indeed a respectable force. Qin Wentian secretly praised in his heart. They did not seek hegemony, but only to preach. That's right, the Heavenly Dao Sacred Academy is truly respected by everyone. Many world overlords are their students, and because they never participated in the struggle for supremacy in the immortal realms, there weren't any hegemonic powers that wanted to deal with the Sacred Academy. I heard that countless years ago, There was an extremely powerful devil character in the supreme ancient immortal realms who established a peak devil sect. He coveted the ancient records and treasures of the Sacred Academy, and wanted to plunder them. Hence, he started a war against the Sacred Academy. After the immortal realms learned of this, they sent reinforcements from all directions, sending countless experts to deal with the devil sect. After they won, they slaughtered their way into the devil sect and razed the peak devil sect to flat ground. That battle became known as the Sacred War, and after that, no other hegemonic powers dared to act against the Sacred Academy. A just cause enjoys abundant support. Qin Wentian replied. Yes, a just cause enjoys abundant support. For a power like the Tiandao Sacred Academy, it doesn't participate in any battles and only cares about spreading the Tao. It shouldn't be destroyed. The Gemini Palace Lords replied. Since this is the case, I will make a trip to the Tiandao Sacred Academy first. Many thanks, Brother Qi. Also, please thank Senior Yi on my behalf. Qin Wentian spoke. It's nothing much. In fact, the Saint Lord seems to be very interested in you. He said that if there's a chance, he would definitely want to meet with you. The Gemini Palace Lords laughed. If there's a chance in the future, I will definitely pay a visit to Senior Yi. Qin Wentian knew that his fate with Ancient Emperor Yi wasn't shallow. Ancient Emperor Yi had taught him many things, and the two of them were both Saint Lords of the Battle Saint tribe. He truly wanted to pay a visit to Ancient Emperor Yi. It was just that he probably wouldn't be able to find Ancient Emperor Yi in a short period of time. Okay, let's meet again if there's a chance in the future. The Gemini Palace Lord spoke. After that, Qin Wentian kept his messaging crystal. Yi Qinyu, who was in front of him, kept staring at him. When she saw the smile on his face, she involuntarily asked, "Who's the news?" Gemini Palace Lords, didn't I tell you before? They came from the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms like me, and there's a connection between us. Qin Wentian replied. Right now, Yi Qinyu already knew many things about him. He told her about Qing and Qingcheng. Since she was already his woman, Qin Wentian naturally wouldn't hide many things from her. But regarding the Battle Saint tribe, it involved the secrets of the entire tribe. He promised that he wouldn't divulge this to anyone. He naturally had to abide by this promise. You said that before this, you asked them if they have any methods to return to the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Now, is there any progress? Yi Qinyu asked. Nothing much. Let me search for the coordinates first. Qin Wentian didn't tell Yi Qinyu. If he did, this demoness would definitely want to go together with him. You lied to me. Yi Qinyu's beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wentian. This woman was extremely intelligent. It was very difficult to fool her. Let me consider it. Qin Wentian felt a little guilty. He cupped Yi Qinyu's face as he spoke in a gentle voice. Okay, you have to bring me along. Yi Qinyu hooked her arms around Qin Wentian's neck, her expression as gentle as water. Qin Wentian almost agreed to her, but when he thought of how dangerous the journey would be, Qin Wentian decided to harden his heart. Several days later, outside the sleeping chambers at the peak of the Lifire Palace, Yi Qinyu hurriedly ran out. She rushed out of the grand formation and sent her immortal sense sweeping out. After that, she ran to the highest location outside the sleeping chambers as a look of grievance flashed in her eyes. She bit her lips lightly and shouted, "Qin Wentian, you bastard!" The Lifire Empyrean's voice thundered through the heavens and earth, causing the hearts of many to tremble involuntarily. In the Lifire Palace, who else would dare to call the Qin Wentian a bastard other than the madam at the peak of the Lifire Palace? Wasn't the relationship between the palace lord and the madam very good? What happened exactly? Could it be that the palace lord has a mistress outside? Some people shamelessly mused. Some of the beautiful serving girls even felt their hearts stirring. The previous palace lord had many wives and concubines. Right now, Palace Lord Qin only had a single beauty as his companion. His chances were very high. How would everyone know that their Palace Lord Qin had abandoned Yi Qinyu and sneaked away? For the next period of time, many beautiful serving girls wanted to enter the sleeping chambers at the peak of the Lifire Palace to curry favor with him. How could Yi Qinyu not know what they were thinking? Hence, These beautiful serving girls were all chased out of the Livefire Palace by Yi Qianyu, who was already in an extremely bad mood. Just because they have some looks, they actually dared to come and seduce Qin Wentian? In the future, even if Qin Wentian wanted to accept women, their looks and charm must not be inferior to hers. If not, wouldn't it be her failure? How pitiful Qin Wentian was. As the Livefire Empyrean, he didn't even have a single serving girl in his sleeping chambers. Not only did Qin Wentian sneak away, he even made Yi Qianyu fall into an illusionscape before he left. If not, with Yi Qianyu guarding him, he wouldn't be able to escape even if he wanted to. Hence he could only use this method. From this, one could very well imagine Yi Qianyu's feelings. He understood Yi Qianyu's heart. However, he also had his own worries. If this trip to the Tiandao Sacred Academy didn't work, he was prepared to traverse the immortal realms himself. He had no way to predict what dangers he would encounter, and naturally, he couldn't bring Yi Qianyu along. This was also for her sake. After leaving the Livefire Palace, he directly headed to Lifelong City. After obtaining the map coordinates of Daoask City, he used a teleportation array to traverse the immortal realms. In the Lifelong Realm, only Lifelong City had a spatial teleportation array. In addition, there was no way for him to teleport there in one go. He had to make several transfers and traverse a vast distance. The Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms were simply too vast. The consumption of energy for this trip was extremely terrifying. If he was merely a peak stage immortal emperor, he wouldn't be able to afford such a trip. After many teleportation arrays, Qin Wentian finally arrived at Daoask City. This was a supreme main city. Even in the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms, it could be said to be a main city. Even the largest city in the Lifelong Realm, Lifelong City, couldn't be mentioned in the same breath as this. In this extremely terrifying majestic city, countless peak powers gathered. It was so prosperous that it was hard for Qin Wentian to imagine. It was rumored that countless years ago, this place was a desolate land. The rise of Daoask City was none other than the famed sacred ground of the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms, the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Daoask City was precisely constructed around the Tiandao Sacred Academy. After countless years of development, it grew larger and larger, becoming incomparably flourishing. Daoask City was very chaotic. The relationships between the various powers were complicated. Not only were there countless local powers here, there would also be many external experts arriving here every day. Many of them wanted to head to the Tiandao Sacred Academy to seek the Tao. Naturally, there were also many who came here for Daoask City. This majestic city itself was extremely attractive to cultivators. Qin Wentian soared in the air above Daoask City, his immortal sense extended out. He could sense the prosperity of Daoask City, and couldn't help but sigh in admiration at how powerful the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms was. Right now, as the Livefire Palace Lord, he could already be considered a marquis of a region, governing boundless territories. With a single command, he could command countless experts, causing many people to feel extremely satisfied. However, when he came to a place like Daoask City, he couldn't help but sigh. So it turned out that the position of the Livefire Palace Lord wasn't sufficient to flaunt. Chapter 1673. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. Now that the ban on the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms has been relaxed, experts from the various powers have all set off for Azure Mystic, and all of them brought many people with them. Seems like he had to send some people over as well. If not, he was worried that he would be flustered if he was alone. Everyone walked up the platform, feeling as though they were standing in the starry space. The people from the Tiandao Sacred Academy adjusted the spatial coordinates. Astral light flashed as a map of a star region appeared on the platform. Boundless astral light could be seen revolving around a single piece of land. The scenery around them changed rapidly. They seemed to be shuttling through the boundless starry space, as though there was a meteor shower beside them. They felt that their bodies were no longer under their control, like they were no longer their own bodies. Lower world. The two gatekeepers glanced at Qin Wentian and transmitted their voices over. Which day? Yes. Also in the forbidden ground of the Dark North Immortal Mountain, that crazy old freak was able to send him and Yu Huang into the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms. What terrifying existence was that mysterious old freak exactly? Although it has declined, it was once glorious. Countless years ago, after a war, Empyreans were forbidden from entering Azure Mystic. However, the various major powers were unwilling to accept this. It's said that even after countless years, they have never stopped exploring Azure Mystic. Someone laughed. Many people knew about this. It was said that from ancient times until now, there would always be Tao elements passing down their inheritance to Azure Mystic. Was it because they wanted to recruit disciples from Azure Mystic? The Heaven Creator Saint has also arrived. Someone glanced at the experts from the Heaven Creator realm as he spoke, causing many to turn their gazes over. The Heaven Creator Saint was a personal disciple of the Heaven Creator Realm Lord, and had inherited his legacy. His strength was extremely powerful, and now he has also arrived at the Tiandao Sacred Academy. The disciples of the Heaven Creator Realm Lord are here to pay a visit to the Sacred Academy. A few figures walked up and bowed to the Tiandao Sacred Academy, appearing extremely polite. The people at the side spoke one after another. Qin Wentian felt shock in his heart. Many of these people came from transcendental powers, and claimed that they were disciples of the Realm Lord. This caused Qin Wentian to feel that something was strange. Since they were the disciples of the Realm Lord, why did they have to use the name of the Realm Lord to pay a visit? He did not seem to be here to seek the Tao. Thinking of this, he could only suppress the throbbing in his heart and rest temporarily in Tiandao Sacred Academy. Qing Xian. Qin Wentian replied telepathically. The other party nodded slightly. He then looked at the crowd and said, "Please, there will be someone inside to receive you." Qing Xian? Today, the Tiandao Sacred Academy gathered all the experts who wanted to head to the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Even Qin Wentian's subordinates came. All of them came here in secret. Although it was said to be a secret, it was merely because they wanted to hide it from Yi Qianyu. How can we understand the thoughts of such an existence? Since he relaxed the ban, maybe this time around, the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms would have an unexpected harvest. Right now, the Tiandao Sacred Academy can be said to be a gathering place for experts. I didn't expect that even though Azure Mystic has been in decline for so long, it would still be so attractive to the point where the various world overlords would send their disciples over. A person crossed his arms before his chest and laughed. His words caused Qin Wentian's eyes to gleam with sharpness. The various world overlords had to come to the Tiandao Sacred Academy to borrow the power of the Tiandao Sacred Academy to head to Azure Mystic. From this, one could see that even world overlords didn't have the ability to send their disciples to Azure Mystic. Is that place the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms? In that case, the surrounding astral light should be from the countless particle worlds around the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, right? Qin Wentian silently mused. An intense sense of anticipation appeared in his heart. Could he finally return? He had waited for this day for far too long. In that case, does everyone know why the ban on Azure Mystic has been relaxed? Someone asked. Many people frowned in confusion. For countless years, the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms had a ban on entry. Many people didn't know why it was relaxed now. A short period of a month to Qin Wentian felt like a very, very long time had passed. But this day finally arrived. That's true. Speaking of which, it's really strange. I wonder who the person who issued the ban was exactly, and why would he relax the ban at this moment, allowing people from the various powers in the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms to enter, but only those below the World Overlord realm. Someone spoke in bewilderment. Everyone entered the Tiandao Sacred Academy. There were people from the Tiandao Sacred Academy leading the way, and they came to an astral platform. This place was incomparably resplendent, and there were boundless spatial energies cascading down on this astral platform. This astral platform shone with resplendent astral light, resembling an extremely powerful grand formation. The Azure Mystic Immortal Realms are relaxed. Are world overlords still not allowed to enter? Qin Wentian asked again. These people were all subordinates of world overlords. None of them came here personally. They were shuttling through space, traversing through immortal realms. Their speed had already reached a terrifying level. However, no matter how the surroundings changed, the coordinates in front of them were still the same. This caused them to feel more at ease. The coordinates in front of them were getting closer and closer. Qin Wentian felt more and more shocked in his heart as he listened. As expected, these people came to the Tiandao Sacred Academy with the same purpose as him. He was still preparing to enter the Tiandao Sacred Academy to check on Mo Qingqing's situation. He didn't expect to encounter such a thing. The Tiandao Sacred Academy is already showing mercy by agreeing to send us into Azure Mystic. What more do you guys want? Someone roared. The Azure Mystic Immortal Realm seems to be hiding some secrets. Qin Wentian silently mused. According to these people, there was actually a reason for the Tao elements in the city of ancient emperors. In addition, the various major powers have never stopped exploring the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. This caused Qin Wentian to immediately think of the lifelong realm. Experts from the various powers came to the Tiandao Sacred Academy because of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms? How can we know the news from the upper echelons? This time around, I heard that our movements are already too slow. Some of the hegemonic powers have the coordinates of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms and have already arrived here. We can only wait here. Among these people, there were 3 monarchs from the 9 monarchs and 2 governors respectively. They were the Eastern Governor Lin Ba and the Northern Governor Su Li. Also, some people were transferred over. This was all because Qin Wentian was worried that there wouldn't be enough manpower in the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Hence, he directly sent an army of immortal emperors over. This way, things would be much more convenient when they returned. In the lower world, student Qin Wentian of the Tiandao Sacred Academy pays a visit to the Sacred Academy. Qin Wentian walked up and bowed with his hands clasped in respect. Since this was a legendary place, he naturally had respect in his heart. Also back then, the Tiandao Sacred Academy had truly given him many benefits. This was especially so for the Tao lectures in the Sacred Academy back then. Alright, we are going to activate the formation to send everyone to Azure Mystic. That person spoke and retreated. The light on the platform grew more and more resplendent until it became blinding to the eyes. A terrifying spatial fluctuation radiated out, and in the next instant, everyone only felt the constellations shifting. They had begun their journey through space. At that time, I wonder how many people would descend from the supreme ancient immortal realms. Everyone discussed. Qin Wentian was still filled with worry. However, he could only wait now. If he found the coordinates himself, even if he didn't encounter any danger, the amount of time he would need would be extremely terrifying. A month was already considered an extremely short period of time. Are the people from the Bone World here to cause trouble again? The 4 Sumeru Law Kings calmly spoke, their words causing the other party to laugh coldly. This group of people was indeed from the extremely famous Bone World. After entering the Sacred Academy, everyone was led to a place to rest. In this region, not only were they here, there were many others who were here as well. Experts from all directions were chatting here. The 4 Law Kings under the command of the Sumeru Realm Lord are here to pay a visit to the Sacred Academy. Another 4 figures clad in kasaya bowed as they spoke. There were many people following behind them. Qin Wentian came to the foot of the stairway leading to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Countless people were here to pay their respects. There were also many people who had ascended the stairway. Qin Wentian walked up the stairway with many people following him. They soon arrived at the entrance of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. The guards at the entrance were all immortal emperors. He suddenly thought of something. Senior Yi sent a message to the Gemini Palace, telling him to come to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Could it be that Senior Yi already knew of the situation here? Many people glanced at Qin Wentian. One of them smiled. 1 month later, the Heavenly Talisman Realm was lying dormant in the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. What was their purpose exactly? In the past, Qin Wentian initially thought that it was to select some outstanding disciples from the lower world. But now that he thought about it, most probably, their purpose wasn't just this. Everyone, may I ask when we can set off? Qin Wentian asked. The 4 Sumeru Law Kings. At this moment, the eyes of some people flashed when they saw the 4 monks entering. The person who spoke was extremely skinny, his entire person was like a bag of bones. His skin was excessively fair, exuding a gloomy aura. During these days, more and more experts came to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. All of them were here for the sake of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, and all of them had extraordinary statuses. There were also many who wanted to go to Daoask City. However, Qin Wentian didn't have such thoughts. He simply waited quietly, feeling that every day felt like a year. The Tiandao Sacred Academy was located in the center of Daoask City. It was like a majestic city in the sky. Boundless astral light cascaded down from the sky, as though it was connected to the great Tao of the heavens and earth. Many thanks. Everyone respectively entered the Tiandao Sacred Academy. This Tiandao Sacred Academy was extremely mysterious. It was unknown how vast it was. Also, there was a world within a world, a completely different world. When he thought of the possibility that there might already be extremely powerful characters from the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms entering the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, Qin Wentian's heart was filled with worry. Many of the people who came here were existences on the same level as him, equivalent to ancient emperors of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Once such characters arrived, they would surely be able to sweep through everything. He couldn't help but to be worried. He wanted nothing more than time to pass faster, so he could instantly return to Azure Mystic. Everyone, this trip will take some time to traverse the Immortal Realms. Everyone, please don't panic when you are in the formation. The people from the Tiandao Sacred Academy spoke. Everyone nodded. For those who came here, the weakest among them was at the Immortal Emperor realm. They naturally wouldn't be frightened. Chapter 1674. In the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, it has already been close to 200 years since the battle against the Evergreen Kingdom. That battle was so shocking that half of the major powers in the Immortal Realms participated. There was the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, the Supreme Sword School, the Taihua Immortal Dynasty, the Sunluo Immortal Empire, the Nine Emperors Immortal State, the Sun Sacred Hall, the Foarok race, the Heavenhold race, the Void Beast race, the White Tiger people, the Dongxing Heaven Emperor, Zidi, and many other terrifying characters from the Immortal Realms surrounded the Evergreen Kingdom and killed Qin Wentian. In that battle, there were also many people who participated to protect Qin Wentian. The Evergreen Kingdom, the Immortal Qianbian Gate, the Namhuang clan, GD, Emperor Yu, and many other supreme characters also participated to protect Qin Wentian. In fact, even the 3 devil halls of the myriad devil islands also participated. Other than this, there were also the esteemed monks of the Wenshin Temple and the extreme immortal devil Buddha. None of them were able to protect Qin Wentian. He followed the Southern Phoenix Matriarch and descended on the Evergreen Kingdom. He was clad in 7-colored light and proposed marriage to the Evergreen Qing heir. With a cultivation base at the Immortal King realm, he killed 3 emperors in a single battle, exuding unparalleled might. But in the end he died. That battle, if the spectators were included, over half of the peak powers in the Immortal Realms were present. It could be said to be a truly epic-making battle. That battle also affected the entire history of the Immortal Realms. From that day onwards, the entire Immortal Realms entered a period of chaos. The entire Immortal Realms were engulfed in the flames of war. Naturally, other than that battle, there was also the fact that the Tao elements in the City of Ancient Emperors descended from the heavens. Because of the Tao elements, the people of the Immortal Realms had no choice but to fight for them. Many people wanted to inherit the same Tao element, and for the sake of becoming an ancient emperor, they had to fight until the heavens and earth crumbled. During these 200 years, the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms was filled with the flames of war. It was unknown how many experts died, but similarly, there were also countless outstanding characters who rose up. Among these people who rose up, all of them were extremely famous in the City of Ancient Emperors. Back then, there were characters at the peak of the Immortal King realm in the City of Ancient Emperors. Some of them had already died, and some of them were gradually climbing up to the peak of the Immortal Realms. There were people who once sighed with emotion. Back then, Qin Wentian defeated all his enemies. Regardless of the supreme geniuses from the Sun Gold race, or the demon-level geniuses from the Foarok race, all of them were defeated by him. In fact, even the supreme crown prince of the Sunluo Immortal Empire, as well as Jia Huangtian of the Foarok race were all killed by him, causing the anger of the Sunluo immortal emperor and the Foarok race. If Qin Wentian didn't die today, then what Qin Emperor Empire's immortal world would rules? No one knew. Everyone only knew that the evergreen Qing'er, whom he risked his life to protect back then, had already broken through to the mid-stage of the immortal emperor realm. Her spatial energy was unparalleled, and she had terrifying killing techniques. She could even fight against ordinary peak-stage immortal emperors. Right now, Evergreen Qing'er was known as the white-haired killing goddess by the immortal realms. This was because there were too many people who wanted to kill her, but the number of people she wanted to kill were also many. All of them were people who participated in the assassination of Qin Wentian back then. Hence, the pure and holy princess of the Evergreen Kingdom became known as the Killing Goddess. Back then, the Dongxing Heaven Emperor, who had a grudge with Qin Wentian, was hunted down by her, until there was no way for him to escape. He didn't even dare to show his face in public. Naturally, this also caused Evergreen Qing'er a lot of trouble. Many people wanted to get rid of her as soon as possible, not wanting to see her continue to grow. If it wasn't for the fact that she had the peak-stage emperors, Chongqing the Great and the White Emperor, as well as her master, GD, as well as many immortal emperor senior apprentice sisters behind her, she would have long turned into a pile of bones. But even so, the Evergreen Kingdom was still in a state of chaos. The imperial palace of the empire no longer had its former glory. Everywhere was filled with rubble and dilapidated buildings. Other than Evergreen Qing'er, Qin Wentian's junior apprentice brother, Jun Mengchen, was also a supreme character now. He was known as the sovereign descending immortal emperor, exuding an unparalleled aura. From this, one could very well imagine how powerful he was. Qin Wentian's demonic beast companion, that adorable heaven-devouring beast, has long become a supreme greater demon. Ordinary characters wouldn't dare to antagonize it. The Samsara Emperor Hua Taishu had once acted for Evergreen Qing'er, resolving a crisis the white-hair killing god was in. If not, Evergreen Qing'er might have already died. The Grand Priest of the Judiciary Devil Islands, the Blood Emperor, was also rumored to have an extraordinary relationship with Qin Wentian. Both of them grew at an astonishing rate. Even the people around Qin Wentian were like this. Hence, some people would speculate that if Qin Wentian was still alive, what sort of shocking accomplishments would he have now? Naturally, this was merely a fantasy. If he died, he died. During that battle, Qin Wentian was killed so badly that his soul dissipated, turning into ashes. If it wasn't for that battle being too shocking, as well as his friends being too outstanding, he would have long been forgotten by the immortal realms. This was especially so after so many unparalleled characters rose up through the years. But now, these people who were by Qin Wentian's side all those years ago encountered a great crisis. Back then, when the two alliances fought in the Evergreen Kingdom, they said that as long as Qin Wentian died, all grudges would vanish like smoke. But everyone knew that this was because both sides had their own considerations and didn't have the courage to start an all-out war. If not, it would be a life-and-death struggle, with both sides suffering heavy losses. It was unknown how many people would die. Hatred wasn't something that could be settled so easily. During these years, the countless battles that occurred proved this point. That battle back then constantly affected the various powers in the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Even now, it was still affecting them. In this vast desolate land, ever since the appearance of the demon god mountain, it was unknown how many greater demons rose up. Right now, they had already invaded every single region of the immortal realms. At this moment, in a certain location of this desolate land, the wind and sand billowed as the sky turned dark. There was a terrifying demonic chi that ravaged the entire space. The demonic beasts all retreated as they stared in shock at that place. Over there were two extremely terrifying demonic beasts. Both of them were heaven-devouring beasts that wanted to devour the heavens and earth. One of the heaven-devouring beasts looked extremely old, while the other was filled with vigor and vigor. His golden skin was incomparably resplendent, as though he was a heaven-devouring king that had just matured. However, their opponents were even more terrifying. The king of the Foarok race, Jia Yema, personally came out to hunt them down. His golden body shone with a resplendent light as his wings blotted out the sun. This king of the Foarok race had already transformed into his true form. Other than him, there was also a supremely terrifying giant beast from the Sun Gold race. This giant beast was completely made of gold, and could spit out golden sun spears that could destroy everything in the world. It was terrifying to the extreme. Roar! A heaven-shaking roar rang out from the mouth of the golden heaven-devouring beast. He spat out a towering runic light, manifesting a heaven-devouring innate technique that clashed violently with his opponent. As for the aged heaven-devouring beast beside him, his body was already pierced through by a golden sun spear, nailing him to the ground. Fresh blood flowed unceasingly, dyeing the earth red. That incomparably resplendent sun spear glowed with terrifying flames. "Go, don't bother about me," the aged heaven-devouring beast spat out. With a puff, another resplendent spear of the sun shot down, nailing its massive body that was just about to get up to the ground. Roar! The golden heaven-devouring beast continued to roar. Golden tears flowed from his eyes. He tried many times to break out of the encirclement and bring the old heaven-devouring beast away, but he failed every single time. He unleashed a terrifying attack as boundless runic light radiated from his body, transforming into spatial energy that enveloped him as he vanished from sight. What a crafty vile beast! Jia Yemo roared. His body transformed into a beam of light as he vanished as well. The killing intent in his eyes was extremely terrifying. Kill him and bring his corpse back. That sun gold beast left behind a command. After that he similarly sped forward, continuing his pursuit. During these years, they have long had enough of this vile beast. This vile beast had devoured many powerful demonic beasts of their respective races, causing trouble everywhere, and was extremely cunning. Now that they finally caught him, they had to kill him no matter what. After they left, more demon emperors arrived. They stared at the dying old heaven-devouring beast below. This heaven-devouring beast was a famous character in the desolate mountains. What a pity! One terrifying attack after another descended, striking the body of the old heaven-devouring beast relentlessly, severing its life force completely. From afar, the golden heaven-devouring beast transformed into a golden-winged great rock and sped through the air. His large eyes were filled with tears as he inclined his head and stared at the sky. He couldn't help but reminisce about the times when he hid in the embrace of a certain someone. However, everything seemed to have happened very, very long ago. Right now, the connection between them had already been severed after that battle in the past. Did he really die just like that? In the southern regions of the immortal realms that were extremely far away from the desolate mountains, the southern Phoenix Immortal City was no longer as peaceful as before. Right now, the city was on the verge of collapse. There were 3 ancient clans in the southern regions that had always been domineering. They were respectively the Ying clan, the Namhuang clan, and the Jiang clan. The 3 of them each ruled over a region and maintained peace for countless years. However, ever since that war in the Evergreen Kingdom, this peace started to waver. Eventually, a war erupted. The Ying clan provoked the Namhuang clan many times, and the Namhuang clan retaliated. The conflict between the 2 sides never stopped and gradually escalated into a war that lasted for 100 years. Many major powers were forced to choose a side. Although the Jiang clan didn't participate in the war, their attitude was very subtle. They faintly leaned towards the Ying clan, causing the Ying clan to gradually gain the upper hand during these years. And now, the Ying clan led an army from the Ying clan and launched an all-out attack against the Namhuang clan. Right now, they had already surrounded the Namhuang clan. The Namhuang clan has already summoned all their disciples back. At this moment, in the Namhuang clan, the Southern Phoenix matriarch stood there, exuding an incomparably noble aura. Her expression was as calm as ever as she stood there, preparing to welcome the fated battle of the Namhuang clan. At this moment, in the inheritance grounds of the Namhuang clan, a terrifying might gushed forth. That place was where the Phoenix ancestor resided. Chapter 1675. The immortal emperors of the Namhuang clan were all here. In the air below the Southern Phoenix matriarch, there were also many supreme beauties. The bloodline of the Namhuang clan was simply too outstanding. The females of the clan were all extremely beautiful. Namhuang Yunxi and Namfeng Xinga were both the cream of the crop. Right now, the holy successor, Namhuang Yunxi, already had extraordinary strength and just recently broke through to the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. Namfeng Xinga also broke through to the initial stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. Ever since the great changes in the Immortal realms, the cultivation speed of everyone in the Immortal realms seemed to have sped up. But right now, Namhuang Yunxi's beautiful face was filled with coldness and solemnity. Namfeng Xinga's pure and flawless countenance was no longer the same as before. Her countenance was filled with coldness and heroism. Their gazes would occasionally glance in the direction of the ancestral lands. The aura emanating from there made everyone understand that this war might be a war of life and death for the Namhuang clan. Everyone was silently waiting. They didn't know when the Ying clan would launch their attack. Right now, the Ying clan was still mobilizing their forces, wanting to annihilate the entire Southern Phoenix Immortal City. They were even preparing to seal the entire Southern Phoenix Immortal City. This was the only way. If too many people managed to escape, it would be extremely troublesome for them. Naturally, the Namhuang clan had a grand formation that led to the Evergreen Kingdom. However, this immortal war would affect the entire immortal realms. The Ying clan naturally wouldn't fight alone. During these years, the Evergreen Kingdom and the Namhuang clan had always maintained an alliance. They naturally had to be on guard. Hence, this war wasn't just targeting the Namhuang clan. The Evergreen Kingdom was also having a hard time protecting itself. Right now, the Evergreen Kingdom was indeed in a whirlpool of chaos. In fact, the glorious imperial palace of the Immortal Empire was already on the verge of collapse. In fact, even the Chongqing the Great was on the brink of death. Right now, Chongqing the Great, who was already at the peak stage of the Immortal Emperor realm, was currently experiencing the most terrifying danger in his life. Within the Evergreen Emperor Palace, on a cultivation platform, the Evergreen Immortal Emperor sat cross-legged. The leaves and branches of the ancient evergreen tree flickered in and out of existence, nourishing his body. At this moment, his life force was being corroded unceasingly as all sorts of destructive energy gushed forth from his body. His entire aura was extremely dispirited as his face turned black. Chongqing the Great was heavily injured. The people who attacked him were Old Devil Duo Tian, Zidi and Dongxing Heaven Emperor. Dongxing Heaven Emperor had also broken through to the peak stage of the Immortal Emperor realm, due to a stroke of good fortune. Just a few days ago, he launched a heaven-shaking attack on Chongqing the Great, almost killing Chongqing the Great on the spot. The White Emperor and Qing Heir rushed over with their fastest speed to save him. But even so, Chongqing the Great was heavily injured and his life was in danger. Right now he no longer had any strength to fight. Before Chongqing the Great, the White Emperor's aura was ethereal, incomparably outstanding. GD's aura was cold and filled with battle intent. There was another person with a stunning countenance. Her skin was as white as snow, yet she had a head full of white hair. Her aura was extremely cold, standing there like an ice sculpture. This was none other than the white-haired god of slaughter, Evergreen Qing Heir. If Qin Wentian saw her current aura, he wouldn't dare to believe it. Only to see that at this moment, the Evergreen Immortal Emperor opened his eyes. A gray light flashed in his eyes, exuding an aura of death. He stared at the figures before him before his gaze finally landed on the white-haired Evergreen Qing Er. He gently spoke. Qing Er, can you promise father one thing? Qing Er shook her head. She knew what her father wanted to say. This matter, she couldn't agree to it. Silly child, everyone will die one day. However, father hopes that you will be able to live on. Kill our way out together with Uncle White and your master. As long as the two of you are alive, we will have hope. Chongqing the Great's voice was gentle. He was already indifferent to his own life and death. He knew that today, it would be hard for him to escape this calamity. As long as the Evergreen Immortal Empire exists, I will exist. Qing Er's voice was as cold as ever. She wasn't moved at all by Chongqing the Great's gentle voice. It was as though her heart was made of stone. However, it was impossible for her to abandon the Evergreen Immortal Empire, to abandon her father. Qing Er. Chongqing the Great called out. Father, I'm sorry. Qing Er resolutely spoke. She turned her gaze to the side only to see a silhouette whose beauty could topple empires. Qingcheng, if there's a chance, I will send you out. Qing Er spoke in a light voice. Mo Qingcheng smiled and shook her head. As long as you are alive, I will exist. You have to wait for him. Evergreen Qing Er stared at Mo Qingcheng. Mo Qingcheng's body trembled. She naturally knew who the him, in Qing Er's words, was referring to. Her beautiful eyes stared into the air as she mumbled. Wait for him. It has been so many years, but there's no news at all. Can we still wait until he returns? I believe in him. Qing Er resolutely spoke. However, Mo Qingcheng shook her head as a sweet smile appeared on her face. During these years, it has always been Elder Sis Qing Er who has protected me. If we can really meet him, let's wait together. If we can't, this is fate. When the White Emperor heard their conversation, he glanced at the sky as he mumbled. The astral river revolves. The universe changes. Your lives won't end here. He will return and he shouldn't be too far away. The evergreen immortal emperor had a non-committal smile on his face when he heard the White Emperor's words. Even if he really returns, would he make it in time? Other than the few of them, the others in the surroundings were all puzzled. In the battle back then, everyone had personally witnessed Qin Wentian's soul shattering. But why did these people still firmly believe that Qin Wentian was still alive? Maybe because they cared too much about him. They would rather believe that Qin Wentian didn't die. Chongqing the Great, your life has already reached its end. Just come out and accept your death. In the air outside the royal palace, a voice drifted over. Qing Er's gaze turned cold as she stared in that direction. Her ice-cold eyes seemed to be able to penetrate through space, shooting towards the person who spoke. Her white hair fluttered even though there was no wind as her killing intent gushed forth. Evergreen Qing Er, although your hair has already turned white, there's still a special feeling in your heart. You are still so beautiful that it causes my heart to tremble. After we destroy the Evergreen Kingdom, you Qing Er and Liuli, these three beauties, will be mine to deal with. At that time, I will make sure you serve this emperor well. The person outside insulted, his purpose was to infuriate Qing Er. The Evergreen Kingdom Palace had set up a grand formation. Right now they were hiding within it, and weren't easy to deal with them. The Nine Emperor's Immortal Emperor has already gone to summon a Supreme Emperor-ranked weapon from the Evergreen Immortal Empire. The moment he returned, he would break the formation and kill his way into the royal palace, capturing the three beauties. Although this was a provocative method, it didn't mean that he didn't have such intentions. The white-haired killing goddess, Evergreen Qing Er, had the title of killing goddess, but her beauty was also extremely outstanding. This was especially so for her white hair. If one could get such a beauty to serve them, one simply didn't dare to imagine how joyous it would be. It was said that even the heaven-seizing immortal emperor had such thoughts. In addition, Mo Qingqing and Princess Liuli, which one of them wasn't a supreme beauty in the mortal world? Qing Er's expression was cold to the extreme. She stretched out her jade-like hand as Emperor Light flashed. Terrifying law energy gushed forth as she stabbed out with her jade-like finger. In an instant, a spatial passageway opened up in the air. That immortal emperor seemed to have sensed something as his countenance drastically changed. He hurriedly retreated. But at this moment, a golden lotus flower appeared from the void, directly enveloping that immortal emperor as it frenziedly tore it apart. A scream of misery rang out as that immortal emperor was directly crushed into dust. The expressions of everyone in the surroundings changed. A resplendent beam of sword light slashed apart the space, severing the lotus flower. However, it was already too late. That immortal emperor no longer existed. The person who appeared was none other than the Paragon Sword Emperor. His eyes were like sharp swords as he stared at the Evergreen Kingdom's Emperor Palace, staring at that white-haired beauty. Evergreen Qing Er's reputation as the white-haired killing god wasn't undeserved. That initial stage immortal emperor actually dared to provoke her, inviting a calamity upon himself. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor and the Taihua Immortal Emperor also walked to the side of the Paragon Sword Emperor. Their three hegemonic powers were located in the eastern regions of the Immortal Realms together with the Evergreen Kingdom. Back then during the war, the White Emperor secretly acted against them. Right now, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, Taihua Immortal Dynasty and the Supreme Sword School weren't any better off compared to the Evergreen Kingdom. Other than some peak characters, the rest of them were already dead. During these years, the conflict between them and the Evergreen Kingdom had never ceased. This time Old Devil Duo Tian acted, joining forces with Ziti and Eastern Sage to kill the Chongqing the Great. After that, they joined forces with the Nine Emperors' immortal state to settle the remaining matters, completely eradicating the Evergreen Kingdom. And on the other side, Ziti and the Dongxing Heaven Emperor had already gone to deal with Jun Mengchen and the others. This operation wasn't targeted at just a single power. It was a joint operation, targeting both the Southern Phoenix Clan and the Evergreen Immortal Empire, capturing them all in one fell swoop. At this moment, an incomparably resplendent beam of light descended from the sky. A terrifying army appeared, and the person in the lead was none other than the Nine Emperors' Immortal Emperor. He stood arrogantly in the air with a Supreme Emperor-ranked weapon strapped to his back. In an instant, a dazzling light erupted forth as countless divine weapons shot towards the Evergreen Immortal Empire. At this moment, the grand formation of the Evergreen Immortal Empire was activated as a screen of golden light lit up. Break! The Nine Emperors' Immortal Emperor didn't waste any words and directly acted. He pointed his finger forward as the divine weapon behind him radiated the will of ancient emperors, slashing out countless divine weapons that frenziedly slammed into the golden formation. At this moment, Qing walked out step by step. Her white hair fluttered in the wind as a fearsome killing intent flashed in her eyes. Inclining her head, her gaze penetrated through everything, staring at the sky. In her mind, a supreme magnificence appeared. At this moment, her hair was as white as snow, but the coldness in her eyes had vanished completely, replaced by a smile that could shake the world. If she died in this battle, she would never be fated with her in this life. If she had regrets in this life, she would make up for it in her next life. If there's a next life, I will be your wife again. Qing retracted her gaze, staring in the direction of the Nine Emperors' Immortal Emperor as her eyes turned incomparably cold. In the eastern regions of the Immortal Realms, in a city in the territory of the Evergreen Kingdom, a resplendent beam of light suddenly shot down from the sky. At this instant, countless people inclined their heads and stared at it. The beam of light landed on the ground, causing rumbling sounds to echo out as the earth trembled unceasingly. Countless people turned their gazes over only to see many figures appearing there. Each of them exuded an extraordinary aura. Their auras unfathomably deep. An immortal emperor passed by. His immortal sense swept out, sensing the cultivation bases of these people. In the next instant, an expression of shock appeared on his face as his entire body trembled. He found it hard to believe his eyes. All of them were at the Immortal Emperor realm. How can this be possible? Amidst the dust, a white-robed figure slowly floated in the air. His immortal sense gushed out and instantly knew where he was. Drawing in a deep breath, his eyes gleamed with an incomparably resplendent light. Azure Mystic, I'm back. Chapter 1676. Is this place the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms? From the clouds of dust, more and more figures soared up into the air. Their auras were all extremely terrifying, instantly enveloping the entire city. As expected of a declining immortal realm, sealing it would cause it to fall behind. Ha ha ha, Azure Mystic, we've arrived at this sealed land. Voices rang out unceasingly in the airspace above the city. Countless people trembled as they stared at the experts descending from the sky. It was as though they didn't originate from this world, but from another immortal realms instead. It was rumored that there were 33 heavens and 33 immortal realms in this world. However, very few people knew about the matters of the other immortal realms. Hence, to many people, the other immortal realms were merely a legend. Right now, so many experts have arrived. Did they originate from other worlds? In that case, the rumors of many outsiders coming to Azure Mystic, could it be that they were all true? Their hearts trembled unceasingly as a thought appeared in their minds. The sky of Azure Mystic was about to change. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with a terrifying light. Numerous figures floated up and stood behind him. Evergreen Kingdom Palace is here to look for me. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. After that, a terrifying spatial energy flashed as Qin Wentian stepped out, directly traversing the void and leaving through a spatial gate. Right now, his heart was set on returning home, wanting to reach the Evergreen Kingdom Palace as soon as possible. He only left behind a single sentence, telling everyone to head to the Evergreen Kingdom Palace to look for him. This place was very close to the royal capital of the empire. They would arrive very quickly. He knows that this is the Evergreen Kingdom? Many people felt their hearts trembling as they stared at the departing figure. Those who followed Qin Wentian here were all monarch-level governors. Which one of them didn't have extraordinary statuses? After Qin Wentian left behind his address, everything else was naturally easy to handle. He directly headed towards the direction of the royal palace of the Evergreen Immortal Empire, moving with great speed. As for the others who arrived here, they all sped off in different directions. It was unknown what kind of storm would be created in Azure Mystic. In the Evergreen Kingdom Palace, the Nine Emperors' immortal emperor was like a heavenly deity, wielding a peerless divine weapon on his back. Countless beams of light manifested from the divine weapon, as they slashed out unceasingly. The grand protective formation of the immortal country trembled unceasingly as cracking sounds rang out. In the royal palace, Chongqing the Great's breathing was weak. He lifted his head to look at Emperor Baiyan Gd and said, "We must take Qing'er with us. She won't leave." Emperor Bai shook his head. The white-haired god of massacre was no longer the weak princess of the past. How could she go along with their wishes? The Chongqing the Great understood this as well, but he was still unwilling to see his beloved daughter die here. He closed his eyes and asked himself, "Is everything I've done wrong? Qin Wentian, if anything happens to Qing'er, you'll be letting me down." Chongqing the Great raised his head and looked at the sky, unwilling to give up. Rumble. Another thunderous boom rang out. The cracks on the Grand Protective Formation grew wider and wider, as though it would collapse at any moment. GD turned and stepped out, moving in the direction of Qing'er. She came to the side of Qing'er, fighting shoulder to shoulder with her. The immortal emperors of GD's followers all walked behind them, radiating emperor light. Would the battle today be the final one? The White Emperor still stood at his original location, protecting Chongqing as well as many people in the royal palace. His white robes fluttered in the wind as he stared up at the starry sky. Would they really be too late? Could it be that he was wrong? A thunderous boom rang out, breaking the train of thought of everyone. The Grand Protective Formation was destroyed as the royal palace exploded. The royal palace, which was originally already in ruins, was now in ruins. Other than the Emperor Palace, the other locations were all covered in dust. The ruler of the Nine Emperors' immortal state, the Nine Emperors' immortal emperor, stood proudly in the air. He was like a supreme ancient king, yet also like a heavenly divinity. He stood there with a supreme killing divine weapon on his back. Beside him, the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor, Paragon Sword Emperor, and the Taihua Immortal Lord walked out, staring at the scene below. Evergreen Qing'er GD, White Emperor, Evergreen. Ultimately, all of you still won't be able to escape death today. The voice of the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor was cold to the extreme. When he thought of the destruction of his empire, towering killing intent radiated from him. Today he could finally take revenge. Evergreen, White Emperor, have you ever regretted your actions? The Paragon Sword Emperor coldly spoke as his sword intent descended from the sky. Evergreen Qing'er, if I kill you directly, it would be letting you off too easily. You killed the emperors of my Nine Emperors' immortal state. I will use the cruelest methods to punish you. The tone of the Nine Emperors' immortal emperor was cold to the extreme. During these years, many people in the Nine Emperors' immortal state died in the hands of the white-haired killing goddess, Evergreen Qing'er. Naturally, there were also many people in the Evergreen Kingdom who died in her hands. Qing'er stepped out, standing on a gigantic rock in the ruins. Her killing intent soared up into the sky as her white hair fluttered in the wind. Her aura gushed forth as her spatial energy transformed into killing intent. Her law energy traversed through space, resembling numerous golden lotuses as she shot towards the Nine Emperors' immortal emperor. Humph! The Nine Emperors' immortal emperor coldly snorted. His divine weapon radiated boundless light as countless divine weapons slashed down, piercing through the spatial lotuses, shattering them into pieces. The lotuses withered, creating a scene of desolation. Qing slowly soared into the air, preparing for this battle. Her white hair fluttered in the wind, causing one's soul to tremble. Qing raised her head and stared at the sky, closing her eyes as she sighed softly. Without you around, what joy is there in life? What sorrow is there in death? As she spoke, she opened her eyes. At this moment, her heart was filled with the will to die. The white-haired killing goddess has returned. My next life is too far away. I only seek this life. At this moment, in the air above the horizon, an ethereal voice rang out, resembling the voice of a divinity. At this instant, the killing intent radiating from Qing abruptly fluctuated, as though it was swaying in the wind. She stared at the sky only to see a resplendent beam of light descending, resembling a spatial gate. From there, a white-robed figure stepped out, as though he came from beyond the heavens. Qing's delicate body trembled. When she saw that figure, the killing intent radiating from the white-haired killing goddess vanished completely. At this moment, she threw away all her pretense. Her body trembled as she stared at the white-robed figure. A stream of tears flowed down from the corner of her eyes. Her hair was still white, but her eyes were filled with gentleness. So the white-haired killing goddess could actually cry. As her tears flowed, a radiant smile blossomed in her eyes. At this moment, the white-haired maiden standing above the ruins was so beautiful that it caused the hearts of others to ache. The next life is too far away. I only seek this life. He has returned. The people of the 9 Emperors' immortal state, the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor, the Paragon Sword Emperor and many other experts all had their gazes frozen. They stared motionlessly at the white-robed figure who appeared in the air, as though they had seen a ghost. How can this be possible? In the battle back then, everyone personally witnessed Qin Wentian being annihilated. From then on, in the 200 years of chaos in the immortal realms, the name Qin Wentian no longer existed. But today he actually appeared once again. They didn't dare to believe this was real, but Qin Wentian really appeared there. In fact, he didn't even glance at them. It was like in his eyes, there was only that white-haired maiden whose beauty could cause one's heart to shatter. GD and GD's followers were all dumbfounded when they saw the figure who appeared. They didn't dare to believe this. They all thought that the conversation between Qing and Qin Wentian was crazy. But they didn't expect that Qin Wentian was actually still alive and had returned. In the Emperor Palace, the weak eyes of Chongqing the Great now gleamed with a resplendent light. After that, a relaxed smile appeared on his face. In the end he still returned. He stared at the White Emperor. You are right again. A smile appeared on the White Emperor's face, but he didn't say anything. Mo Qingqing's beautiful eyes stared in astonishment at the person who appeared. After that, her tears flowed uncontrollably. She knelt on the ground and covered her face as she sobbed. The sound of her sobbing actually caused the Chongqing the Great and the White Emperor who were beside her to feel heartache. It must have been tough on this lass. She had been suppressed for so many years, feeling wronged and worried. Very soon, Mo Qingqing inclined her head because she wanted to see the person who appeared clearly. It has been far too long since she last saw him. Wiping away her tears, Mo Qingqing saw Qin Wentian descending before Qing, hugging Qing, in his arms as they slowly descended from the air. At this moment, there was no jealousy in Mo Qingqing's eyes. There was only the most radiant smile on her face. She stood up and sprinted towards that figure. She was like the most beautiful spirit in the world, dancing in the wind. Her steps were light and joyful, her smile was pure and flawless. Qin Wentian hugged Qing tightly. Qing's beautiful eyes stared at him in a daze, filled with gentleness and love. It was like in this world, there was only the two of them left. Qin Wentian's dreamy voice rang out, causing Qing's soul to tremble. After that, Qin Wentian kissed her on the lips. It was so gentle. At this moment, she let go of all her reservations. She hugged the man she loved tightly, allowing him to taste her gentleness. The two of them spun around in the air, descending unceasingly. The scene was so beautiful. Mo Qingqing sped over with great speed, but all of a sudden, A terrifying beam of divine light erupted forth, shooting towards Mo Qingqing. Careful! Someone shouted. However, they only saw Qin Wentian and Qing suddenly vanishing. In the next instant, they appeared in front of Mo Qingqing, shielding her as a screen of light enveloped them. The incomparably sharp divine weapons slashed down. Yet they had no way to break through the screen of light. This screen of light was even more terrifying compared to the grand formation protecting the Qin Empire. Their lips parted. Qin Wentian's other hand hugged Mo Qingqing. Mo Qingqing seemed to know what he wanted to do, and a shy expression appeared on her face, stirring the hearts of men. Qin Wentian hugged her tightly and kissed her. Mo Qingqing's fists pounded on Qin Wentian's chest as tears once again flowed down, drenching her flawless countenance. Qingqing, I'm sorry. Qin Wentian's hands gently caressed their faces, wiping away their tears. There was boundless guilt in his heart. Today, if he was a step late, the consequences would be unimaginably dire. The two of them gently leaned into Qin Wentian's embrace, feeling the warmth of his body. They knew that this wasn't a dream. He had truly returned to their side. In the air, the 9 emperors' immortal emperor, and the others stared at the figures below as their expressions turned extremely ugly to behold. And at this moment, the glow of divine weapons radiated forth. They saw a group of experts using spatial divine weapons, arriving here. These people who appeared were all immortal emperors. When they saw Qin Wentian hugging the 2 women, only then did they understand. So it turned out that the Lifefire Empyrean was actually someone from the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. He killed his way up to the upper world, and obtained the position of the Lifefire Empyrean. Numerous figures descended. GD and the others stared warily at these people. Qing and Mo Qingqing also stared at these people. Qin Wentian merely held their hands and stared at the descending figures. He then spoke, "They are my wives." Su Li and the others saw Qin Wentian's eyes gleaming with sharpness. Even for Yi Qianyu and Qin Wentian had never introduced them like this before. Su Li and the others instantly understood that the status of these 2 beauties in Qin Wentian's heart was most probably even higher than the Madam of the Lifefire Palace. These 2 were the true main wives. In an instant, some of the smarter ones immediately knelt on one knee. Upon seeing this scene, the others all knelt as well and called out in a loud voice, "Your subordinates pay our respects to Madam." Chapter 1677. These people were all at the Immortal Emperor realm. Among them, there were monarchs and governors. The others were the left and right arms of the monarchs and vice-governors. Usually, when they saw Qin Wentian, they only needed to bow. There was no need for them to kneel. However, the new Lifefire Empyrean Qin Wentian was famous for his domineering and iron-blooded methods. He even killed the previous Lifefire Empyrean. Right now, in the Lifefire Palace, he could decide the life and death of people with a single word. And right now, when they saw Qin Wentian's attitude, how could they not understand the status of the 2 supreme beauties beside him? Qin Wentian brought them here. They naturally had to perform well and gain the trust of this new Lifefire Empyrean. All the immortal emperors, including several peak-stage immortal emperors, knelt on one knee and bowed to their wives. Who was his wife? Qin Wentian just introduced Qing and Mo Qingqing as his wives. In that case, there was no need to doubt that the wives the immortal emperors were referring to were none other than Qing and Mo Qingqing. Silence filled the air. The gazes of everyone landed on the group of kneeling immortal emperors as great waves rose in their hearts. He returned alive, and he even brought an army of immortal emperors with him. Surround them. Up until now, Qin Wentian didn't even glance at the 9 emperors' immortal emperor and the others in the air. At the instant he returned to Azure Mystic, the fates of these people were already determined. Yes, Palace Lord. The various sovereign emperors and commanders received the order. Their figures instantly shot out like bolts of lightning, and in an instant, the entire void was sealed and surrounded. The 9 emperors' immortal emperor and the others stood in the air. They didn't know whether to fight or retreat. Their expressions were extremely ugly to behold. When they sensed the tyrannical auras from the immortal emperors surrounding them, they didn't know what to do. Qin Wentian glanced at the ruins of the Evergreen Kingdom. The once glorious land of Evergreen Kingdom Palace had now become like this. It was hard to imagine what kind of war had taken place here. Moreover, the Chongqing the Great had been seriously injured. When he thought of everything Qing'er and Mo Qingqing had experienced during these years, and when he saw Qing'er's white hair, he felt even more uneasy in his heart. He could only tightly hold their hands as he gently spoke. Everything is fine now. With me here, everything will end. Yes. Qing'er nodded. Her white hair was still the same. But the white-haired killing goddess who was once unexcelled in the world had vanished. Right now, she was like a gentle little maiden, tightly holding on to Qin Wentian's hands, wanting to melt into his palms. Mo Qingqing smiled sweetly. Her hands were wrapped around Qin Wentian's arm as her beautiful black eyes stared unblinkingly at Qin Wentian. It was like she wanted to see enough of him. Staring at his two beloved wives, the smile in Qin Wentian's eyes finally relaxed, became gentle and radiant. They finally arrived. The situation he was most afraid of didn't happen. However, the scene earlier caused him to break out in cold sweat. Qing'er actually transformed into a white-haired killing goddess and faced the immortal emperors. Her eyes were so cold, it was like she was a completely different person. He simply couldn't imagine what she had experienced during these years. How did she survive until now? Senior GD. Qin Wentian smiled when he saw GD and the others walking over. Although his cultivation base had long surpassed GD, he still respectfully referred to her as senior. This was Qing'er's master. Even at the final moment, she still stood by Qing'er's side, fighting shoulder to shoulder. I initially thought that you. GD also smiled. The instant she saw those immortal emperors kneeling, she already knew that everything had ended. The young man who was once unexcelled in the world, the legendary genius who killed 3 immortal emperors in a single battle, when he was only at the immortal king realm had returned. He returned in such a dazzling manner, like a lofty king that even immortal emperors had to kneel before. From this, one could very well imagine how powerful he was. Right now, GD basically couldn't see through Qin Wentian at all. Did you think I'm dead? Qin Wentian smiled. GD and her disciples all laughed. When they saw the smile in their junior sister Qing'er's eyes, all of them felt a sense of relief and happiness. The next life was too far away, they could only seek this life. He returned in such a dazzling manner, kissing the woman he loved, causing all the immortal emperors to kneel before him. A legend, he was still a legend. It was just that this legend had become much stronger compared to the past. Most probably, even the heavens wouldn't be able to bind him. Wentian will always remember Senior, and the fairies care for Qin. Qin Wentian sincerely spoke. Although GD and her disciples didn't have any ulterior motives, or they wouldn't have risked their lives to protect the Evergreen Kingdom, he had no choice but to repay this debt of gratitude. Because the person they protected wasn't merely the palace lord of the Evergreen Kingdom, or their junior apprentice sister. She was also his wife, Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian led Qing'er and Mo Qingqing forward, arriving at the Emperor Palace. The weak Chongqing the Great was currently smiling at Qin Wentian. His eyes were filled with vigor. Finally, he has returned. Earlier, I was still saying that you have failed to live up to my expectations. Fortunately, I was wrong. Chongqing the Great laughed. Everything came at the right time. Fate was so mysterious. At the moment of despair, a ray of light would appear. Great Emperor. Qin Wentian called out. An incomparably pure life energy enveloped Chongqing the Great. The jade-green life energy devoured the corrosive energy bit by bit. The life energy seeped into every corner of Chongqing the Great's body, causing his life force to grow stronger and stronger. It was incomparably wondrous. Law of life. Chongqing the Great's heart trembled. Back then, Qin Wentian didn't cultivate the law of life. Could it be that he broke through? This was impossible. How could he break through to the immortal emperor realm in just 100+ years? Back then when he was killed, he was merely at the peak stage of the immortal king realm, and had yet to step into the immortal emperor realm. Oh right, it's an avatar. The evergreen immortal emperor silently mused. He believed that his original body had already died. The one Qing'er and Mo Qingqing had been waiting for him all this while. was none other than Qin Wentian's avatar. How would he know that the Qin Wentian in front of him was none other than his original body? Very swiftly, Chongqing the Great's injuries recovered. Such a heavy injury actually healed completely. This was simply unimaginable, but Qin Wentian did it. Your Majesty is now a peak-stage immortal emperor, and you also have the eternal evergreen tree. Who else can injure you? Qin Wentian asked. Old Devil Duo Tian, Ziti and Eastern Sage. You know them all. Chongqing the Great laughed. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. What a familiar name. Back then on the Demon God Mountain, Old Devil Duo Tian used the heaven-seizing bowl to traverse space and wanted to kill him. It was the Southern Phoenix matriarch who acted and saved his life. The Dongxing Heaven Emperor was none other than Old Devil Duo Tian. As for Ziti and Eastern Sage, Qin Wentian couldn't be more familiar with them. The connection between them was extremely deep. Why aren't you dealing with them? Chongqing the Great stared at the 9 emperors, immortal emperor, and the others. Qin Wentian had so many immortal emperors surrounding them, and there were quite a few peak-stage immortal emperors among them. It should be enough to annihilate the experts from the 9 emperors' immortal state. However, Qin Wentian didn't give the order, and only ordered his immortal emperors to surround them. Wait for them to call for reinforcements. Qin Wentian spoke in a light voice. His calm voice caused Chongqing the Great's heart to tremble. Wait for them to call for reinforcements? Qin Wentian was planning to capture all of them in one fell swoop. Similarly, he had absolute confidence in himself. The 9 emperors' immortal emperor, and the others all had their immortal senses outside. When they saw these immortal emperors surrounding them, but not doing anything, their hearts were filled with torment. They didn't dare to take the initiative to act. Right now they were clearly at a disadvantage. Since the other party wanted to drag things out, they might as well. It was just that the 9 emperors' immortal emperor and the others couldn't tolerate Qin Wentian's attitude. From the moment he appeared, he didn't even bother to look them in the eye. They were the leaders of the peak powers, the ruler of the 9 emperors' immortal state, the Sky Mist immortal emperor, the Paragon Sword emperor, the Taihua immortal lord. Qin Wentian, that fellow who was referred to as Palace Lord by the immortal emperors, didn't even bother to look them in the eye. How much contempt was this? Oh yeah, the Namhuang clan has most probably started a war. Let's quickly go and take a look. Chongqing the Great spoke. What's going on? Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. The Namhuang clan and the Evergreen Kingdom were surrounded at the same time? The war between the Ying clan and the Namhuang clan has already lasted for over 100 years. Right now, the Ying clan and the Namhuang clan have already surrounded the Southern Phoenix Immortal City. I'm afraid today will be the day of the final battle. Chongqing the Great spoke. He then continued. The teleportation array leading to the Namhuang clan is still there. We can head there immediately. Right. Qin Wentian nodded. He held Qing, and Mo Qingqing's hands as he directly headed in a certain direction. I'll bring Qing and Qingqing along. Chongqing the Great's eyes gleamed sharply. Heading there alone? Let's listen to him. The White Emperor spoke. The Evergreen Emperor nodded. Since Qin Wentian dared to bring Qing, and Mo Qingqing along with him, one could very well imagine how confident he was. Qin Wentian followed Qing, and stepped into the teleportation array leading to the Namhuang clan. A bright light flashed as the 3 of them directly vanished from sight. Chongqing the Great really wanted to see what level Qin Wentian has reached now. The 9 emperors' immortal emperor, and the others still didn't dare to move. They were surrounded and surrounded. The immortal emperors of the Lifefire Palace didn't follow Qin Wentian's orders. Just like what the Evergreen Emperor has said, a heaven-shaking battle had already erupted in the Namhuang clan. The flames of war enveloped the entire Namhuang clan. At this moment, in the airspace above the Namhuang clan, it was like the end of the world. Fresh blood splattered unceasingly as screams of misery rang out. In the air, a true dragon and a phoenix soared through the 9 heavens, violently fighting against each other, terrifying to the extreme. The Ying clan's old ancestor and the Southern Phoenix matriarch fought intensely. But from the perspective of the entire battlefield, the Namhuang clan was completely suppressed and was at an absolute disadvantage. More and more holy maidens of the Namhuang clan died. Many people had tears in their eyes as they fought. When had the Namhuang clan been in such a miserable state before? Their loved ones were dying one after another. The intensity of the battle was so intense that when the teleportation array in the Namhuang clan lit up, no one noticed it. Right now, Namhuang Yunxi was also at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. Right now, she was surrounded by two powerful immortal emperors. When she saw the death of one of her loved ones not far away from her, her tears involuntarily flowed down. A terrifying dragon claw slashed over. Her body was still being bound by another immortal emperor. She only saw a malevolent smile on the other party's face. A strong ray of light suddenly descended, accompanied by sword will. Clattering sounds rang out, and the two hideous smiles suddenly became blurry. Whooshing sounds rang out, and their bodies were directly torn into pieces. Namhuang Yunxi's beautiful eyes froze. After that, a figure appeared in her vision. This figure was clad in white, and had long hair fluttering in the wind. At this moment, Namhuang Yunxi only felt as though she was in a dream. Could it be that she was about to die? Was she hallucinating? Chapter 1678. Namhuang Yunxi naturally didn't die. Qin Wentian had arrived. The moment he arrived at the Namhuang clan, he saw this shocking battle, and with a sweep of his immortal sense, he instantly appeared before Namhuang Yunxi. Yunxi, it's me. Qin Wentian spoke in a light voice. Namhuang Yunxi's body trembled violently as her eyes widened, gleaming with a resplendent light. She stared fixedly at the person who appeared before her. His white robes and black hair fluttered in the wind. His aura grew even more outstanding compared to before, and his countenance grew even more handsome. Beside him, Qing'er and Mo Qingqing stood quietly, looking so real. You. Namhuang Yunxi's red lips trembled. She wanted to say something but no words came out. He was still alive? He was actually still alive? Was this real? At this moment, this voice kept ringing out in the mind of Namhuang Yunxi. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared in another direction as he coldly shouted, "Stop the battle." This voice was like a thunderclap that shook the heavens and earth. Many people were shaken by it, and the battle paused for a moment. However, the battle continued in an instant. How could a single voice interrupt the chaotic battlefield? Even if this voice had the power to shake people's hearts. Namfeng Shunga, who was below, inclined her head and stared at the person who spoke. Her picturesque eyes instantly froze. That silhouette that just appeared, was it real? When Qin Wentian saw that no one had any reaction, a brilliant light suddenly radiated from his body. This incomparably resplendent light illuminated this entire space. These beams of resplendent light unceasingly shot out in different directions. In fact, they were even capable of twisting and turning. After that, Namfeng Yunxi's beautiful eyes froze there. To her astonishment, she discovered that the beams of light unceasingly shone on the bodies of the Ying clan's experts. When the beams of light descended, the bodies of the Ying clan's experts stiffened. After that, the bodies of the Ying clan's experts began to dissipate bit by bit, transforming into illusory beams of light that vanished from this world. This radiance was like the radiance of a deity. Those who were illuminated by the radiance let out screams of agony as they disappeared from the world. This strange and terrifying scene was 100 times more terrifying compared to the sound earlier. In just an instant, the chaotic battlefield abruptly came to a halt. Everyone stopped fighting as their gazes turned towards a certain direction. That was where the source of the light came from. Under the illumination of the blinding light, they saw a white-robed figure akin to a divinity. Qin Wentian stood there, floating in the air, bathing in boundless light. He was like a god of light, controlling all light in this world. Qin Wentian. Did I see wrongly? Many people from the Namhuang clan felt great waves of shock in their hearts. It was like they couldn't believe their eyes. Even the beautiful eyes of the Southern Phoenix matriarch froze there, staring unblinkingly at that supreme silhouette. Strange, too strange. Over 100 years ago, a genius who was surrounded and killed by the immortal emperors in front of the eyes of everyone, had actually revived and appeared before their eyes once again. In addition, not only was he still alive, he was so powerful, so powerful that the people of the Southern Phoenix clan were stunned, so powerful that the people of the Ying clan felt despair. Earlier, the experts of the Ying clan all suffered heavy casualties. Under the light, no one could survive. Who are you? The ruler of the Ying clan stared at Qin Wentian. Back then, he was there to spectate the battle and personally saw Qin Wentian being killed. How could he have returned? But who was this man before him exactly? The Ying clan didn't participate in the battle against him back then, but they did have some conflicts with him. Looking at today, the Evergreen Kingdom and the Namhuang clan were allies. At the same time when the Evergreen Kingdom was attacked, the Ying clan launched an all-out attack on the Namhuang clan. There was no need to doubt that both sides had also formed an alliance. At the very least, they had an agreement. Hence, the Ying clan was his enemy. It has been so many years. Has the immortal realms already forgotten about me? Qin Wentian spoke in a light voice. The wind gusted by, causing his robes and long hair to flutter. I am Qin Wentian. In this vast space, everything was deathly silent. He was Qin Wentian. However, how could it be Qin Wentian? Countless people personally witnessed his death. Back then, so many peak characters were present, and all the major powers joined forces to kill him. How could they spare him a single breath? Only after his body exploded and his soul dissipated did everyone stop. In that case, what about the man standing before him? The two beauties beside him were clearly none other than Qin Wentian's wives. Senior Southern Phoenix Matriarch. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the Southern Phoenix Matriarch in the air. She was still as beautiful as ever, exuding magnificence through the generations. The Southern Phoenix Matriarch stared at Qin Wentian. She also didn't dare to believe this. However, the truth was the truth. The man who appeared before her was none other than Qin Wentian. Who else could it be? A smile appeared on her beautiful face, revealing traces of exhaustion. When she saw how domineering Qin Wentian was, she knew what sort of attitude he had when he returned. He addressed her as matriarch because of his respect for her. In terms of strength, if she was Qin Wentian's enemy, that radiance earlier would have caused her soul to dissipate long ago. Qin Wentian transformed into a dragon and returned, causing the winds and clouds to change. From now onwards, the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms would welcome an era of prosperity. Would the Immortal Realms be unified? Namfeng Yunxi smiled. And as she smiled, a teardrop actually flowed down her face. He was really alive. He had returned alive. Oh, you really didn't die? A melodious voice drifted over from below. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over and stared at a beauty that was as beautiful as a painting. He smiled. Shunga, when can you play a song for me? Namfeng Shunga's eyes were slightly red. She smiled gently and replied, Sure, as long as you are willing to listen. We have to settle the matter before us first. Qin Wentian stared at his old friends one after another. Namhuang Yunxi, Namfeng Shunga, the Southern Phoenix Matriarch. His mood was extremely wonderful, and he couldn't help but to joke around with Namfeng Shunga. You went to the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms? At this moment, the Ying clan ruler suddenly asked. His words caused Qin Wentian's gaze to flicker as he stared at the Ying clan ruler. How do you know about the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms? Qin Wentian calmly asked. His words undoubtedly confirmed the Ying clan ruler's words. He came from the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms. The people of the Namhuang clan all felt shock in their hearts. No wonder Qin Wentian didn't die but disappeared for so many years. He actually went to another immortal realms. My Ying clan has always had an inheritance from the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms. This time, the destruction of the Namhuang clan is the start of our conquest. Right now, the people of the Supreme Ancient Ying clan are about to descend upon our Ying clan. The Ying clan ruler spoke, threatening Qin Wentian. Empyreans from the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms would soon descend upon our Ying clan. Qin Wentian turned his gaze to the Southern Phoenix Matriarch. The Southern Phoenix Matriarch frowned as she spoke. No wonder the Ying clan suddenly launched an all-out attack. Wentian, I recently heard that there might be people from other immortal realms arriving in the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Qin Wentian nodded lightly. He wasn't surprised about this. When he heard the discussions of the people in the Tiandao Sacred Academy, He already knew that once the restrictions on the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms were loosened, a storm would surely surge. He glanced at the many corpses below. The majority of them were the fairies of the Namhuang clan. They were the weaker party in this battle, and suffered heavy casualties. If he didn't come, the Namhuang clan would surely be annihilated today. Senior Southern Phoenix Matriarch and the Namhuang clan have shown kindness to me. Leaving aside everything else, the Ying clan has slaughtered the Namhuang clan. This is already an irreconcilable grudge. Since this is the case, the Ying clan shall be annihilated. As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, he stepped out as resplendent beams of light radiated from him. The beams of light instantly shone on an immortal emperor. That immortal emperor screamed in agony as his body was disintegrated into nothingness. The other experts of the Ying clan were all horrified. The Ying clan ruler screamed in shock, "Run!" Light descended. Who would be able to escape? Under the shocked gazes of the experts of the Namhuang clan, the beams of light blasted into the experts of the Ying clan. The experts of the Ying clan died one after another. None of them had the strength to resist. Staring at the vanishing silhouettes, even a supreme character like the Southern Phoenix Matriarch couldn't help but tremble. What sort of power was this? The Qin Wentian who returned might have already surpassed the immortal Emperor realm. Was this the legendary ancient Emperor realm of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms? The Ying clan ruler fled very quickly, but no matter how fast he was, he couldn't outrun the light. When the light descended, he struggled frenziedly, but his body was penetrated unceasingly. Under the light, he was devoured and turned into dust. The true dragon in the air roared, struggling against the light, but it was useless. He let out a heaven-shaking roar of rage, but it was useless. His gigantic body vanished under the light. The experts of the Ying clan ruler vanished unceasingly under the light, turning into dust, becoming history. All of this seemed to prove the words of Qin Wentian earlier. The Ying clan shall be annihilated. With a single sentence, he determined the life and death of the unexcelled ancient clan of the Immortal Realms. Qing, and Mo Qingqing quietly watched. They were exceptionally calm. To them, no matter how strong Qin Wentian was, they wouldn't be surprised. He himself was a miracle. Also, what they paid attention to wasn't how strong Qin Wentian was. As long as he was here, everything would be perfect. The people of the Namhuang clan no longer had words to describe the emotions they were feeling in their hearts. In fact, even the words tempestuous waves weren't sufficient to describe their state of mind. In these 200 years, the immortal realms underwent a shocking change. Countless geniuses rose up, but those who rose up were all geniuses themselves. They bathed in the city of ancient emperors and comprehended the Tao elements, advancing at 1,000 miles in a single day. Ordinary characters were still the same. They couldn't comprehend the power of the Tao elements. But even if they were geniuses, what could they be compared to Qin Wentian? They were simply not worth mentioning. Staring at the young man, they suddenly felt a sense of absurdity. This young man, who had a deep connection with their Namhuang clan, was actually an ancient emperor character of this generation? When they thought of this, their hearts pounded. They were about to witness the birth of a living legend. As expected, the Southern Phoenix Matriarch had good judgment. In the past, if it wasn't for her befriending Qin Wentian, the Namhuang clan would have suffered a calamity today. Although the relationship between Qin Wentian and Namhuang Yunxi started, Namhuang Yunxi couldn't represent the entire Namhuang clan. It was because of the Southern Phoenix Matriarch's attitude that the Namhuang clan participated in the Immortal Realms War for Qin Wentian. And it was also because of this that the situation today, the Ying clan must be annihilated. Chapter 1679. The Ying clan was one of the three most ancient clans of the southern regions. They established the Ying Immortal Empire and were incomparably powerful. However, Qin Wentian used his strength alone to kill everyone. No one could escape. How domineering was this? He was like a god that controlled the lives of all living beings. Although the Namhuang clan felt a sense of survival, when they saw the corpses of the Namhuang clan, their expressions turned incomparably heavy. The Southern Phoenix Matriarch sighed silently in her heart. Wentian, this time around you have saved the Namhuang clan. The Southern Phoenix matriarch walked towards Qin Wentian and spoke. Back then to her, Qin Wentian was merely a junior with outstanding talent. But now, Qin Wentian has already surpassed her. Matriarch, there's no need to be so polite with me. Qin Wentian smiled. Earlier, you heard the words of the Ying clan leader. If the Ying clan also sent people from the supreme ancient immortal realms. The Southern Phoenix matriarch was somewhat worried. The supreme ancient immortal realms was the legendary upper world. She didn't know what kind of experts would descend here. To think that the Ying clan actually originated from the upper world. Today, the Ying clan and the Namhuang clan are already at war. If I don't destroy the Ying clan, if the experts from the supreme ancient immortal realms are stronger than me, would they let this matter rest? Qin Wentian laughed. The Southern Phoenix matriarch instantly understood Qin Wentian's meaning. That's right, both sides were already at war. Even if Qin Wentian showed mercy today, if the experts from the supreme ancient immortal realms were stronger than Qin Wentian, how could they not annihilate the Namhuang clan and kill Qin Wentian? And if the experts from the supreme ancient immortal realms were weaker than Qin Wentian, what was there to fear? Matriarch, don't worry. There's a ban in the Azure Mystic immortal realms. Although the ban is relaxed now, those who can enter Azure Mystic wouldn't have a higher cultivation base than me. Qin Wentian consoled. The Southern Phoenix matriarch smiled and nodded. Wentian, given your current cultivation base, it's not too appropriate to address me as matriarch. My name is Namfeng Yaoyue. You can just refer to me as Yaoyue. Matriarch, Immortal Emperor, Immortal Lord and others all had titles. For example, if Qin Wentian met an Immortal Emperor, would he still need to address her as? Wouldn't that be praising Immortal Emperors too much? Although Qin Wentian still addressed the Southern Phoenix matriarch respectfully, the Southern Phoenix matriarch had no choice but to give face to Qin Wentian. Because of their relationship in the past, she could still call him by his name and refer to him as Wentian. If they weren't familiar with each other, she could only call him senior even if his age was much younger than her. Qin Matriarch of Matriarch Southern Emperor of, he of Phoenix was Tian of the Chun, Phoenix Ming Qin. Said Qin. Chun Emperor of the Emperor, sacred. Since the Southern Phoenix Matriarch says so, I shall call you by your name then. Qin Wentian had a carefree smile on his face. The Southern Phoenix Matriarch was his benefactor, but she wasn't his true elder. Right now, it was most suitable for the two of them to treat each other as friends. Yaoyue, these are some messaging crystals for you. I've already infused my immortal sense into them. If you want to find me, you can directly send your immortal sense into them to communicate with me. In addition, you have to leave your immortal sense in my messaging crystal as well. In that case, we can communicate directly through the messaging crystal. Qin Wentian spoke. The moment he said this, everyone understood that this must be a messaging treasure from the supreme ancient immortal realms. It was much more superior compared to the methods they used to imprint their immortal senses onto themselves. The Southern Phoenix matriarch nodded. She sent a strand of her immortal sense into Qin Wentian's messaging crystal, and kept the others. Qin Wentian waved his hand as a messaging crystal floated before Namhuang Yunxi and Namfeng Xinga. He smiled. I'm giving these to you guys privately, there's no need to ask the Southern Phoenix matriarch for more. My immortal sense is in each of them. You guys can also leave your immortal sense in my messaging crystal. Namhuang Yunxi and Namfeng Xinga smiled and nodded. Right now, Qin Wentian's status was completely different. He could directly address the Southern Phoenix matriarch by her name. But so what of it? He was still their good friend. If they had a messaging crystal, they could contact Qin Wentian at any time and chat with him. Many people stared at the two of them with envy. What sort of character was Qin Wentian now? He was an ancient emperor-level existence. It was naturally impossible for him to leave his immortal sense in all his messaging crystals. The only people who could directly communicate with him were the Southern Phoenix matriarch, Namhuang Yunxi and Namfeng Xinga. Everyone then turned their gazes to Qin Wentian's side. Back then when Qin Wentian died, this princess of the Evergreen Kingdom's hair instantly turned white. After that, she transformed into a white-haired killing god. At that time, Mo Qingqing's eyes turned deathly gray, like a zombie. It was rumored that many years later, Princess Qing consoled her before she gradually recovered. During these years, they had experienced so much. Now they could finally see the light of the moon. Temporarily seal off the news here. Don't let it leak out. If not, some people wouldn't willingly walk into the trap. Qin Wentian spoke. In this vast battlefield, everyone from the Ying clan was instantly killed. They didn't even have time to spread the news. As long as the Namhuang clan didn't leak out the news, no one would know that this was done by Qin Wentian. He still hadn't settled the debt with those people back then. Hence, he temporarily sealed off the news. If not, those people would definitely go into hiding. Did you hear that? If anyone dares to leak out any news about what happened today, cripple their cultivation bases. In addition, go and clean up the battlefield. Kill everyone from the Ying clan without mercy. The Phoenix matriarch imposingly spoke. Everyone had heavy expressions on their faces as they nodded. Qin Wentian saved the Namhuang clan. Since he told them not to leak out the news, everyone would naturally do as he said. They also knew that Qin Wentian wanted to take revenge for what happened in the Evergreen Kingdom in the past. Half of the major powers in the immortal realms participated in the siege, causing Qin Wentian's soul to scatter. Although he didn't know how Qin Wentian managed to survive, Qin Wentian definitely had to settle that debt, as well as the grievances Evergreen Qing'er and Mo Qingqing had suffered during these years. The matters in the Evergreen Kingdom have yet to be settled. Yangwe, I will return first. Qin Wentian spoke. The strongest expert of the Ying clan has already been killed. The matters next are very easy to settle. I will go with you. The Phoenix matriarch spoke. Namhuang Yunxi, Nanfeng Xinga and many others from the Namhuang clan followed after her. After that, they all entered the teleportation array and instantly returned to the Emperor Palace of the Evergreen Kingdom. Upon seeing Qin Wentian returning so quickly, and even bringing the Phoenix matriarch with him, the eyes of Chongqing the Great, the White Emperor and the others all gleamed with a strange light. The matter regarding the Namhuang clan was settled just like that? Chongqing, have your injuries recovered? The Phoenix matriarch stared at Chongqing the Great as she asked. I'm about to recover. It's all thanks to that brat. Chongqing the Great laughed. He still referred to Qin Wentian as brat, causing the Phoenix matriarch to blink her eyes. This fellow Chongqing was extremely complacent. There was no solution to it. Chongqing was Qin Wentian's father-in-law. There was nothing he could do about it. Seems like you are in a very good mood. The Phoenix matriarch's beautiful eyes flickered with a smile. She glanced at the scene in the air. The immortal emperors surrounded the 9 emperors' immortal emperor and the others. None of them dared to act recklessly. This is... The Phoenix matriarch glanced at Qin Wentian. Wentian's subordinates from the outside world. They are waiting for the reinforcements to arrive. Chongqing the Great directly replied on behalf of Qin Wentian. The Phoenix matriarch sighed in her heart. A group of immortal emperors as subordinates. Seems like the sky of Azure Mystic was about to change. Upon seeing the Southern Phoenix matriarch bringing the Namhuang clan over, the expressions of the 9 emperors' immortal emperor and the others all turned extremely ugly to behold. What was going on with the Ying clan exactly? Could it be that they didn't initiate the final battle? The 9 Emperors' immortal state is located in the central regions of the immortal realms. I'm afraid it would take some time for them to arrive. The Southern Phoenix matriarch spoke. These people are on the line between life and death. If they want to live, they would tell their reinforcements to spare no expense and use the teleportation arrays of the various major powers to arrive here with the fastest speed. I believe that they would be able to accomplish this. Qin Wentian spoke. The Phoenix matriarch nodded. This was the truth. Qin Wentian wasn't in a hurry. He took out several messaging crystals. There was no need to say much about Qing, and Qingqing. Chongqing the Great, and the others were all equipped with messaging crystals as well. After testing it out, Chongqing the Great and the others all understood how useful this item was. It was simply too convenient to transmit messages. Emperor Qianbian, by Wuxia and my junior apprentice brother Jun Mingchen. How are they doing? Qing, little rascal. Do you know where he is? Qin Wentian asked. These were all people he cared about very much. His senior apprentice brother Bai Wuya had shown him kindness. Jun Mingchen had always been like a younger brother to him. Qing frowned as coldness flashed in her eyes. The eyes of Chongqing the Great and the Southern Phoenix matriarch also flashed. After that, Chongqing the Great spoke, "Let me say it. During these years after you left, the immortal realm started to move towards an era of chaos. You have seen for yourself what happened to my evergreen kingdom. The various major powers in the eastern regions have all lost their glory. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, the Supreme Sword School, the Taihua Immortal Dynasty have all collapsed. The Celestial Palace has been destroyed while the Beast God sect in the Land of Extreme Frost is still standing. As for the strongest power in the eastern regions, who do you think it is?" "I have no idea." Qin Wentian shook his head. "The Immortal Qianbian Gate." Chongqing the Great spoke. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. "The Heavenly Talisman Realm?" Qin Wentian instantly thought of the Heavenly Talisman Realm. He naturally knew that the existence of the Immortal Qianbian Gate depended on the Heavenly Talisman Realm. Has the Heavenly Talisman Realm finally appeared from behind the scenes? How many experts were there in the Heavenly Talisman Realm? Qin Wentian, who was once a disciple of the Heavenly Talisman Realm, wasn't very clear. He didn't interrupt Chongqing the Great's words. Chongqing the Great continued. The Immortal Qianbian Gate was initially suppressed by Eastern Sage Zidi to the point of disintegration. But one day, they suddenly reappeared with an army of immortal emperors, and even more immortal king-level experts. They dominated the eastern regions and directly attacked Zidi's Violet Mountain, destroying the Violet Mountain. Zidi, like Eastern Sage, submitted to Old Devil Duo Tian. After that, the Immortal Qianbian Gate wanted the Celestial Palace to submit, but the Celestial Palace refused. If it wasn't for the fact that the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, the Supreme Sword School and the Taihua Immortal Dynasty had already disintegrated, the Immortal Qianbian Gate would most probably be the same. The Immortal Qianbian Gate rose up in the shortest period of time, becoming the strongest power in the entire Immortal Realms. Many people could see the ambition of the Immortal Qianbian Gate. But now the Immortal Realms are already in chaos. The battles between the Ying clan and the Namhuang clan are unceasingly erupting. My evergreen kingdom has also been embroiled in the whirlpool of conflict, and has already reached an extremely tragic stage. Who would still dare to antagonize the Immortal Qianbian Gate? Once, there was a demon race that wanted to ally with the other demon races to destroy the Immortal Qianbian Gate. But when the Immortal Qianbian Gate learned of this, they directly annihilated the demon race. In the Immortal Realms, there are no other powers that can resist the Immortal Qianbian Gate head-on. In this chaotic era, many powers can only form alliances. The Heavenly Talisman Realm wants to borrow the power of the Immortal Qianbian Gate to become the hegemon of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Qin Wentian silently mused. This time around, if it wasn't for the fact that the ban on the Immortal Qianbian Gate was relaxed, it might really be possible for the Immortal Qianbian Gate to succeed. But now, with the arrival of the various hegemonic powers in the supreme ancient immortal realms, everything was hard to say. Jun Mingchen has a straightforward personality. That fellow betrayed the Immortal Qianbian Gate. Chongqing the Great's words caused Qin Wentian to instantly feel nervous in his heart. Chapter 1680. Qin Wentian had an extremely deep connection with the Heavenly Talisman Realm. Ever since his senior brother Bai Wuya introduced him to the Heavenly Talisman Realm, he became a disciple of the Heavenly Talisman Realm, taking the Realm Lord as his master. He had a sense of belonging to the Heavenly Talisman Realm, and was also filled with respect for many of his senior brothers and sisters. For example, Bai Wuya, Jun Mingchen's senior brother, the Saberlord of Death, as well as Tuoba Saint Sky and the others who fought side by side with him back then. The Heavenly Talisman Realm has always treated him as a core member and nurtured him. He could sense this point very clearly. It was only until more than half of the peak powers in the immortal realms wanted him dead that everything ended. Other than Jun Mingchen and Bai Wuya, the Heavenly Talisman Realm didn't appear at all. He understood that at that time, the Heavenly Talisman Realm must have felt that the time wasn't ripe yet. In order to deal with him, the immortal realms had already formed a terrifying alliance. There were also many powers that didn't participate, but they were all eyeing him covetously. If the Heavenly Talisman realm appeared, they would definitely encounter strong resistance. And it was precisely after his death that the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms welcomed chaos. The Heavenly Talisman realm's opportunity finally arrived. They borrowed the power of the Immortal Champion Gate to enter the world, ruling over Azure Mystic. The ambitions of the Heavenly Talisman Realm Lord could be seen with a single glance. Everything he did in the past was merely a foundation. His ultimate goal was to unify Azure Mystic and become the hegemon of Azure Mystic. There were countless disciples in the Heavenly Talisman Realm, and they were born into chaos. Since the Heavenly Talisman Realm had such lofty ambitions, there must be many heroes who responded to the Heavenly Talisman Realm's words. Most probably, many people were suppressing their anger, who would be willing to remain nameless. But why did Junmingchen betray the Heavenly Talisman Realm? For traitors, how would the Heavenly Talisman Realm deal with them? His gaze was filled with nervousness as he stared at Chongqing the Great. To him, Junmingchen had always been like a brother. Junmingchen came to the Emperor Palace before, and right now, his name is already famous in the immortal realms. His cultivation base is the same as Qing, and his combat prowess is extremely strong. The Immortal Champion Gate seems to have a powerful power behind them, and Junmingchen is one of their disciples. Back then, when you were surrounded by the immortal realms, that power didn't help you, and Junmingchen was filled with resentment towards this. Most probably, he went to beg that power behind them to help, but to no avail. Other than this, the Immortal Champion Gate severed all ties with us when our Evergreen Kingdom was in danger. They said that if the Evergreen Kingdom is willing to submit, they would send troops to deal with the other powers. Chongqing the Great spoke. Junmingchen was extremely unhappy about this, and had a falling out with the Immortal Champion Gate. Because of this, he was hunted down, and now, his whereabouts are unknown. According to my inference, if it wasn't for the fact that the Immortal Champion Gate hoped that our Evergreen Kingdom would clash with the other powers, they wouldn't have allowed us to stay in the eastern regions. Qin Wentian felt extremely complicated in his heart when he heard Chongqing the Great's words. After leaving for so many years, the Blue Sea turned into mulberry fields. Things remain the same, but the people have changed. What about the Emperor Qianbian and Bai Wuya? Qin Wentian was more concerned about them. Right now, the Immortal Qianbian Gate is still controlled by the Emperor Qianbian in name, but he no longer has any authority. I'm also not sure about Bai Wuya's current situation. Chongqing the Great shook his head. After that battle, Little Rascal and Purgatory have never returned. However, I heard some news that Little Rascal would frequently roam the desolate mountains and devour the Foarok race, Void Beast race, White Tiger people, and many other demonic races. The Foarok Jiayema has long issued a must-kill order for him. The King of the Sun Gold race and the White Tiger people also want his life. Qing added from the side. To sum it up with a single sentence, Little Rascal had stirred up trouble, and it was a great disaster. Most probably, it was because of Little Rascal's death. Do you have any news from the Myriad Devil Islands? Is there any news from the priestess of the Judiciary Devil Hall? Also, Qi Yu and the others who followed me back then, how are they doing? Qin Wentian continued asking. Qi Yu and the others should be silently cultivating, and have never participated in the chaotic war. As for the priestess of the Judiciary Devil Hall, she is now known as the Blood Empress, the Grand Priestess of Blood. Qing'er spoke. Back then, given her personality, she didn't care about external affairs. But now, she actually knew many things regarding the immortal realms. During these years, she had changed greatly because there were many things that she had to bear. Blood Empress, Grand Priestess of Blood. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. That last by Qing. What did she experience exactly? How's the situation in the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms? Qin Wentian asked again. Many Empyrean geniuses have appeared there. All of them are strong enough to stand on their own. The geniuses of the same generation as you back then, as well as those supreme characters from the City of Ancient Emperors, have all started to rise up. In the immortal realms, many major powers have been destroyed, vanishing like smoke, becoming history. The various peak powers of the northern regions are in an extremely intense battle against the demon race. They are the neighboring regions of the Desolate Mountains, and would often suffer attacks from the greater demons of the Desolate Mountains, causing them to be on the verge of collapse. Changqing the Great spoke. The central regions of the immortal realms are the most chaotic and the most complicated. Many powers have been directly swallowed up. It's the same for the demon race as well. The weaker demons submitted to the stronger demons, and only a few of them remain in the western regions. You should understand the situation in the southern regions a little better. The Jiang clan is extremely mysterious, and right now, everyone can feel how deep their foundations are. They have many secret arts and techniques. You have also seen what happened in the eastern regions. Other than this, there are also some wandering powers that have formed alliances. For example, Zidi and the Dongxing Heaven Emperor. Both of them actually submitted to Old Devil Duotian, causing Old Devil Duotian's power to grow even stronger. My injuries were caused by them, and I almost died in their hands. Also, this time around, if you didn't return, the Evergreen Kingdom would have been destroyed today, completely vanishing from the pages of history. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with coldness. Changqing the Great could use a single word to describe the current situation in the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Chaos. The entire Immortal Realms were in a state of chaos. In addition to the arrival of so many Empyreans from the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms, things would only get more chaotic. The hegemon of the eastern regions was actually the immortal Qianbian Gate, controlled by the Heavenly Talisman Realm. They chatted about many things. In the air, a bright light flashed as more experts finally arrived. These people were all immortal emperors, and were all people from the Nine Emperors' immortal state. The Nine Emperors' immortal state was a peak power in the central regions, and was extremely terrifying. They had many immortal emperors, and this time around, there was no need for all of them to move out to annihilate the Evergreen Kingdom. But now they had no choice but to come. Qin Wentian even saw an old acquaintance, Huang Shatian. Right now he was naturally also an immortal emperor. Huang Shaishan's talent was extremely high, and he had comprehended a Tao element. How could he be inferior to others? He, who was at the mid-stage of the immortal emperor realm, naturally had an extraordinary aura. When they saw the many immortal emperors surrounding the Nine Emperors' immortal emperor, they couldn't help but to frown. After that, when they saw Changqing the Great, GD and the Southern Phoenix Matriarch, their expressions all turned extremely unsightly. Even if they rushed here to provide reinforcements, it was still insufficient. As for the experts from the Supreme Sword School of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Taihua Immortal Dynasty, they already had no reinforcements. Huang Shatian also saw Qin Wentian. His expression instantly became extremely fascinating as he stared over there. The words of the Nine Emperors' immortal emperor were actually true. Qin Wentian didn't die, and he even brought an army of immortal emperors back with him. Where are the people from the Sinluo Immortal Empire? The Nine Emperors' immortal emperor coldly spoke. Their Nine Emperors' immortal empire had formed an alliance with the Sinluo Immortal Empire. They didn't come. The expression of the person in the lead was extremely unsightly, as though he could sense the danger here. When comparing the strength of both sides, they were still very weak. This was extremely disadvantageous to them. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over. After that he slowly walked over. The Southern Phoenix Matriarch and Changqing the Great followed behind him. Qing, and Qingcheng were beside him, while GD and her sect members followed behind. This group of people actually had Qin Wentian as their leader. After waiting for so long, only the people from the Nine Emperors' immortal state came to die. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. Since the Nine Emperors' immortal emperor was here, the experts from the Nine Emperors' immortal state had no choice but to come. Qin Wentian, if we start a war, there would be no benefits for both sides. The Nine Emperors' immortal emperor coldly spoke. There were also many immortal emperors on their side. Kill them all without mercy. Qin Wentian coldly spoke. He couldn't be bothered to waste words with them. In an instant, his subordinates all radiated emperor light as they started their slaughter. Qin Wentian stepped out, traversing through space and directly appeared before the 9 Emperor's immortal emperor. With a single glance, the 9 Emperor's immortal emperor only felt the universe changing as he fell into a law domain. The divine weapon behind him radiated a brilliant light. However, he only saw Qin Wentian walking towards him step by step. If it wasn't for the sake of attracting others to take the bait, there wouldn't be a need to go through so much trouble. The Ying clan was destroyed not long ago. Right now, the 9 Emperor's immortal state is no longer a part of the immortal realms. The Ying clan was destroyed? The 9 Emperor's immortal emperor's heart pounded violently. Qin Wentian only left for such a short period of time. The Ying clan was already destroyed? What cultivation realm are you at now? Within his true illusion domain, the 9 Emperor's immortal emperor stared at Qin Wentian. Above the immortal emperor realm, Qin Wentian spoke. With a single glance, the sword might from the 9 Emperor's immortal emperor flowed in reverse, directly piercing into his eyes. The light from the divine weapon also reversed, and shot towards the 9 Emperor's immortal emperor. The 9 Emperor's immortal emperor screamed in agony. Both his eyes were blinded as his entire body trembled in fear. Above the immortal emperor realm was the ancient emperor realm. Today, the Ying clan was destroyed. The 9 Emperor's immortal state was no longer a part of the immortal realms. Back then, when the major powers of the Evergreen Kingdom fought against them, the supreme geniuses they killed had returned. Would that battle directly lead to the destruction of the 9 Emperor's immortal state? With Qin Wentian acting, there was no suspense at all. Even though Qin Wentian suppressed his cultivation base, causing others to misunderstand that he was only a peak-stage immortal emperor, he was still as domineering as ever. Very swiftly, immortal emperors fell one after another. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor, the Paragon Sword Emperor, and the Taihua Immortal Lord were all terrified. They started to flee, but how could they escape? Qin Wentian's return was destined to cleanse Azure Mystic with blood. Very swiftly, corpses fell into the ruins of the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. Who would have thought that these were all characters who once shook the heavens and earth? Huang Shatian had also died. This genius who once contended against Qin Wentian didn't even have the chance to exchange blows with Qin Wentian before he was killed by a monarch. The success of a general was built on the bones of tens of thousands. The rise of a supreme character, he would have to trample on the corpses of many geniuses to advance. Naturally, there were also those transcendent-level experts of the older generations. The destruction of the Ying clan, the destruction of the 9 Emperor's immortal state. This was merely the beginning. From the start till the end, Chongqing the Great didn't act. But when he saw the scene before him, he understood that with the return of Qin Wentian, a storm of blood would surely arise. Chapter 1681. In the Wenxin Temple, many monks didn't care about external affairs. In a hall in the Wenxin Temple, an esteemed monk sat cross-legged. A monk below him asked, "Abbot, back then Qin Wentian was clearly killed. Why did he return now? Could it be that he has reincarnated? Even if he has reincarnated, it shouldn't be so fast, right? That supreme young genius has returned." He used iron-blooded methods to announce his return, the return of a king. He made Eastern Sage Zidi and the other peak-stage immortal emperors commit suicide. He also made those who participated in the war back then take the initiative to be executed. When the Ying clan attacked the Namhuang clan, they were completely annihilated. The 9 Emperor's immortal state, the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor, the Paragon Sword Emperor, the Taihua Immortal Lord and the others joined forces to annihilate the Evergreen Kingdom. Such shocking news naturally couldn't be hidden. Very swiftly, this news circulated to all the peak powers in the immortal realms. In a mysterious mountain range in the immortal realms, a black mist permeated the air. In the depths of this mountain range, there were many black-colored ancient palaces. At this moment, a few figures flew through the air, directly appearing in the middle of the palaces. "Master, have you heard the news about the Evergreen Kingdom and the Namhuang clan?" that disciple asked. Emichim. The expert on the throne was extremely terrifying. His eyes swept over everyone, causing the crowd to feel trepidation. Even immortal emperors didn't dare to lift their heads. And at this moment, in the Sunluo Great Hall of the Sunluo Immortal Empire, the situation was completely different. The Sunluo Immortal Emperor was as imposing as ever, but right now, he was standing beside the throne. The throne wasn't empty, it was occupied by someone else. The people below all knelt on the ground and bowed. We respectfully welcome the arrival of the esteemed envoy. In the entire Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, there was only a single focal point. That focal point was none other than Qin Wentian. Presumptuous. Qin Wentian was killed more than 100 years ago. Did he just come back from the underworld? Zidi said coldly. Qin Wentian returned in a domineering manner, helping the Namhuang clan to destroy the Ying clan. He also helped the Evergreen Kingdom to destroy the 9 Emperors' immortal state and the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor. He brought back an army of immortal emperors. Who could stop him from taking revenge? That's impossible. Back then, all the experts were there, and he was killed until his soul was scattered. There's no way he could still be alive. Dongxing Heaven Emperor was still in disbelief, but he understood that the person in front of him would not dare to lie to them, much less old devil Duo Tian. Right now, in the Great Hall of the Jiang clan, a group of immortal emperors stood there. The Jiang clan leader glanced at them and asked, "What do you all think?" "And what?" "Speak." Old devil Duo Tian said. "During these years, Emperor, you had always been pestering them. Eastern Sage had died a few times in his hands, and that old fellow even chased them all the way to their lair, killing many of their people. He came and went without a trace, truly a great calamity. Qin Wentian has returned." The black-robed man bowed. The Reverend still had his eyes closed, as though he wasn't shocked at all. He only calmly spoke. Benefactor Qin is destined to be fated with the Buddha. As long as the fate between them hasn't ended, he naturally wouldn't die. Back then, I've already said this. Today's karma will reap retribution in the future. Qin Wentian didn't die and has indeed returned. He even brought back an army of immortal emperors, and helped the Namhuang clan to destroy the Ying clan, as well as the 9 Emperors' immortal emperor and the others. Also, the black-robed man stared at the 3 of them, wanting to say something but hesitating. It's good that Qin Wentian is still alive. Let them fight until the heavens and earth turn upside down. In any case, my Jiang clan won't participate. Jiang Zihua smiled. His deep gaze seemed to be able to see through everything. What? A terrifying aura gushed forth from old devil Duo Tian. The eyes of Zidi and Eastern Sage gleamed with terror as they stared at that person. In the sacred hall of the Sacred Sun sect, many experts were bowing to the sect leader. However, the sect leader's expression was extremely unsightly right now. Back then, their Sacred Sun sect had a part in killing Qin Wentian. Right now, Qin Wentian was actually still alive. This definitely wasn't good news. What's even more terrifying was that right now, not only was Qin Wentian incomparably powerful, he even brought back an army of immortal emperors. What's the matter? Why are you so flustered? Old devil Duo Tian asked. No matter how strong he is still an immortal emperor. Immortal emperors are like ants before this seat. Send someone to pass a message to him. Tell him to scram back to our Sunluo Immortal Empire and submit to us. That envoy calmly spoke, as though he was speaking of an extremely ordinary matter. What's going on? Old devil Duo Tian was as expected of a peak character. He instantly calmed down and asked. Before this, I was worried that Master had something important to do outside and didn't dare to disturb you. Now that Master has returned, this disciple immediately rushed over. There's an important piece of news I have to report to Master. The Ying clan and the 9 Emperors' immortal state have all been destroyed. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor, Paragon Sword Emperor and Taihua Immortal Lord have all been killed. The black-robed expert spoke. Elder brother is right. The Jiang clan only needs to wait for the last time to unify Azure Mystic. It would be best if they can incite a conflict between Qin Wentian and the immortal Qianbian Gate. Jiang Ziyu also spoke. Right now he was also an initial stage immortal emperor. Envoy, that man's combat prowess is extremely strong. Back then when he was still an immortal king, He had already killed immortal emperors. Someone below spoke. Let's wait and see. The Jiang clan expert nodded. Say that again? The Dongxing Heaven Emperor radiated coldness. Are you talking about Qin Wentian? Countless people found it hard to sleep. Their hearts were filled with fear and trepidation. At this moment, a black-robed figure sped over. When he saw Old Devil Duo Tian and the others, he bowed. Master, Senior Zidi, Senior Eastern Sage. How did the Namhuang clan and the Evergreen Kingdom accomplish this? After that, the news circulated out. Back then, half of the peak powers of the Immortal Realms participated in the operation against the Evergreen Kingdom. Qin Wentian actually didn't die and returned alive. He brought an army of immortal emperors with him, and even broke through to the peak stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. His combat prowess was so strong that even the 9 Emperors' Immortal Emperor was killed by him. Keep an eye on the movements of the Evergreen Kingdom and the Namhuang clan. In addition, contact the other peak powers and discuss countermeasures. The sect leader of the sacred sect personally gave the order, wanting to unite the peak powers of the past. From this, one could see how important this matter was. He had no choice but to do so because the Ying clan was wiped out. The immortal emperors of the 9 emperors' immortal state were all killed, and the empire was disintegrated. Pardon your innocence. Old Devil Duo Tian's imposingness was extremely imposing. The disciple trembled with fear as he spoke. In addition, Qin Wentian insulted Zidi and Senior Eastern Sage. He even said that the deaths of Senior Eastern Sage's son, Dong Xingting, and Senior Zidi's nephew were all plotted by him, and sent the 2 seniors to their deaths. He even told Master to go to the Evergreen Kingdom and cripple your own cultivation base. It was precisely because of Qin Wentian's return that the Ying clan was wiped out. All the immortal emperors of the 9 emperors' immortal state and above died. The Tenlan Heaven Kingdom, the Supreme Sword School, and the Taihua Immortal Dynasty were completely annihilated because their leaders were all killed by Qin Wentian. Disciple doesn't dare. The black-robed expert lowered his head. In the immortal realms, countless people were trembling with trepidation. Qin Wentian has returned, transforming into a killing god. He is here for revenge. After that, the Evergreen Kingdom and the Namhuang clan took the initiative to release news that those who participated in the encirclement of the Evergreen Kingdom all took the initiative to head to the Evergreen Kingdom to commit suicide. In that case, he wouldn't implicate their clans. In the Foarok race, the clan leader, Jia Yema, was enraged when he received this news. That heaven-devouring beast was still alive, and there was also news of Qin Wentian returning alive. In that case, he would let Qin Wentian die once more. Jia Yema immediately sought out the Sun Gold race, Heaven Hold race, Void Beast race, and the White Tiger people. These demonic races were all supreme demonic powers. If they joined forces, their strength would simply be terrifying. Chongqing the Great didn't know that he hadn't truly seen Qin Wentian's true strength. He had already held back when he killed the 9 emperors' immortal emperor and the others. If he was too strong, some of them would probably choose to hole up and hide. The Southern Phoenix Matriarch and the others knew Qin Wentian's intentions. They didn't say anything. Back then, when the Evergreen Kingdom was besieged, there were simply too many people who participated in killing Qin Wentian. This was merely the tip of the iceberg. Initially, we wanted to join forces to destroy the Evergreen Kingdom, but we were obstructed by that old fox Emperor Yu. During these few days, we have been chasing after him. Why? Are the 9 emperors' immortal state and the Ying clan unable to destroy the Evergreen Kingdom and the Namhuang clan? Old Devil Duo Tian asked. There were still some young men below the age of 200 who didn't know who Qin Wentian was. Their elders started to tell them about a legend that happened in the past. For a period of time, countless young men were filled with yearning, treating Qin Wentian as their spiritual idol. With Qin Wentian as their goal, they would definitely rise up in this chaotic world, daring to change the sky. Preposterous. That old fox is truly cunning. We actually failed to kill him. Zidi spoke in a cold voice. This time around, Old Devil Duo Tian and Eastern Sage, the 3 peak stage immortal emperors, joined forces to deal with a single person. Yet they actually failed. Although they managed to heavily injure the other party still managed to escape. There was also a rumor that the deaths of Dongxing Heaven Emperor's son Dongxing Ting and nephew of Zidi were all planned by him, Qin Wentian. He wanted Eastern Sage and Zidi, these two old dogs, to go to the Evergreen Kingdom on their own accord to die. Old Devil Duo Tian dared to act as Eastern Sage's backer, protecting him. He had once acted against Qin Wentian on the Demon God Mountain, but now, he obediently crawled over to the Evergreen Kingdom and crippled his cultivation base. If that was the case, he, Qin Wentian, would spare Old Devil Duo Tian's dog life. Nobody doubted the veracity of this news. Qin Wentian's return was something that couldn't be hidden. Most probably, he had a miraculous encounter and managed to survive. He might have gone to the other immortal realms, returning as a king. Naturally, when he was at the Immortal King realm, he could slay immortal emperors. Now that Qin Wentian was at the peak stage of the Immortal Emperor realm, who in the immortal realms would be able to block him? And the person they ambushed was none other than their old enemy, Emperor Yu. After developing for so many years, the Azure Mystic Sunluo Immortal Empire only has this level of strength? This truly disappoints this seat. I heard that right now, just a group of immortal emperors can already cause you all to tremble in fear. With this level of strength, how can you dominate Azure Mystic? That envoy spoke. His tone was filled with arrogance. However, no one dared to refute him. The black-robed young man felt the pressure from the three experts and didn't dare to continue speaking. Old Devil Duo Tian turned his head and glanced at Zidi and Eastern Sage. The brat you guys want to kill is truly tenacious. Back then, half of the immortal realms surrounded him, yet he didn't die? It was unknown how many people in the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms were unable to eat or sleep in peace. For the Jiang clan, they knew the news the earliest because the Ying clan and the Namhuang clan were all in the southern region. With regards to the battle between the Ying clan and the Namhuang clan, how could they not pay attention to it? Hence, when the Ying clan was destroyed, the Jiang clan already felt that something was strange and started to investigate. They used their fastest speed to obtain news of Qin Wentian's return. Chapter 1682. Evergreen Kingdom Palace was being rebuilt. Qin Wentian did not take the initiative to attack. Instead, he stayed in the Evergreen Kingdom. Right now, he has already sent word to the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Everyone knew that he has returned. Most probably, the major powers of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms were all in close contact with each other. Once there was any commotion, everyone would instantly know about it. He was waiting for the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms to surround him. Just like that time back then, all the major powers gathered in the Evergreen Kingdom Palace to kill him. Qin Wentian was not anxious at all. When he came to Qingxian, he would settle all the old scores. At the same time, he also sent out people to investigate the whereabouts of Jun Mingchen and Little Rascal. However, at this moment, the Sunluo Immortal Empire sent out a piece of news, telling Qin Wentian to scram to the Sunluo Immortal Empire and submit. This caused Qin Wentian to feel bewildered. Had the Sunluo Immortal Empire gone mad? The Ying clan was destroyed, the Nine Emperors' immortal state was destroyed, and the Sunluo Immortal Empire actually dared to tell him to scram and pay his respects? Or could it be that the Sunluo Immortal Empire was extremely confident? Could it be that the Sunluo Immortal Empire also originated from the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms? Qin Wentian knew that there were experts from the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms who came to Azure Mystic together with him. There was also news that before him, there were experts from the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms who came here. Right now they were roaming the Immortal Realms, but they didn't cause any commotion or attract attention. However, Qin Wentian guessed that these Empyreans most probably wouldn't be willing to stay out of the limelight. They would surely cause a huge commotion when they came to Azure Mystic. The experts of the Immortal Realms were all paying close attention to this. The Sunluo Immortal Emperor told Qin Wentian to scram and submit to him. What would Qin Wentian do? Qin Wentian only sent out a single sentence. The Sunluo Immortal Empire shall be destroyed, and its name shall be removed from the Immortal Realms. Everyone's hearts trembled. Each was more arrogant than the last. Today, a few guests came to the Evergreen Kingdom. They weren't the experts from the major powers Qin Wentian had pointed out. Instead, They were from the hegemonic power of the eastern regions, the immortal Qianbian Gate. In the royal capital of the empire, Qin Wentian, Chongqing the Great and the others were all present. They stared at the three figures before them. Qin Wentian had never seen these three before, but all of them had extremely powerful cultivation bases. One was a peak stage immortal emperor, while the other two were at the mid stage. The peak stage immortal emperor in the lead was clad in platinum robes, exuding an imposing aura. Junior brother Qin. When the three of them saw Qin Wentian, the immortal in the lead directly called out. Right now, there was no need to hide anything. Since the heavenly talisman realm has already entered the secular world, and used the immortal Qianbian Gate to enter Azure Mystic, they naturally wouldn't be afraid of exposing anything. They directly addressed Qin Wentian as junior brother. Chongqing the Great and the others didn't feel surprised. They had long guessed that Jun Mengchen had always been the junior apprentice brother of Qin Wentian. Since Jun Mengchen originated from the immortal Qianbian Gate, Qin Wentian should be the same as well. Be seated. Qin Wentian spoke. The immortal emperor in the lead waved his hands. I'll leave after saying a few words. Junior brother Qin survived a great calamity, and now that you've returned, I'm very happy for you. Today, our sect has already come out of seclusion. Junior brother Qin, you should return to join us in conquering the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. We are already hegemons of an area, and if we add on the strength of junior brother Qin, it would undoubtedly be like adding wings to a tiger. Get Bai Wuxia and Jun Mengchen to come talk to me. Qin Wentian calmly spoke, his words causing the immortal emperor to stiffen. After that he smiled. Jun Mengchen is already a traitor. If junior brother Qin sees him, don't forget to kill him. Bai Wuxia is currently in closed-door seclusion, and it isn't convenient for him to come here. Why did Jun Mengchen betray us? Qin Wentian asked. How would I know? Our sect has shown him kindness as heavy as a mountain. He cultivated under our tutelage, but in the end he actually betrayed us. This is simply disgraceful. That immortal emperor coldly snorted. When I see him, I will naturally ask him clearly. The three of you, please return. Qin Wentian directly gave the order to chase them away. The three of them frowned. Qin Wentian, what do you mean by this? Could it be that you don't want to submit to the sect and want to learn from Jun Mengchen? Qin Wentian frowned as his eyes flashed with coldness. May I ask, what's the purpose of the sect? Is there a sect that doesn't force its disciples to do anything? The times now are different from the past. Now that the world is in chaos, we naturally have to unite and fight side by side with our sect, unifying Azure Mystic. Another immortal emperor spoke. So this is the case. Now that I've returned with great strength, the sect finally thought of me, and wants to unite and fight side by side with us. In that case, when I was weak back then, when the major powers of Azure Mystic surrounded the royal palace, where was the sect? Did it fight side by side with me? Qin Wentian coldly asked. Back then, the heavenly talisman realm didn't fight for him, and he didn't have much resentment. After all, this was the purpose of the heavenly talisman realm. However, you didn't fight back then. Now that he has grown stronger, you want me to submit and fight side by side with you? How ridiculous. In addition, the heavenly talisman realm transformed into the immortal Qianbian Gate, and even threatened the Evergreen Kingdom to submit, hunting Jun Mengchen. Since this is the case, Qin Wentian has already severed all ties with the heavenly talisman realm. From now on, the heavenly talisman realm is the heavenly talisman realm, and he, Qin Wentian, is Qin Wentian. In that case, do you really want to learn from Jun Mengchen? The immortal emperor in the lead coldly spoke. Have you guys sensed the imprint of the heavenly talisman realm on me before? Qin Wentian suddenly asked. Since the other party said this, there was no need for them to continue talking. The three of them frowned. This was also something they felt strange about. The disciples of the heavenly talisman realm could sense each other's identity. However, Qin Wentian didn't have the imprint of the heavenly talisman realm on him. Did you order your men to destroy the imprint? That immortal emperor coldly spoke. Back then during the battle of the Evergreen Kingdom, I, Qin Wentian, have already died once and the imprint has already vanished. The Qin Wentian today is no longer the Qin Wentian of the past. Everyone, Please do as you wish. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. His words were extremely clear. He had already died once and right now, he was no longer the Qin Wentian of the past. His relationship with the heavenly talisman realm has already been severed. The expressions of the three immortal emperors turned ugly to behold. They stared at Qin Wentian only to see the immortal emperor in the lead coldly speaking. Since you are no longer a disciple of our sect, don't blame us for being ruthless if anything happens in the future. Farewell. After speaking, the three of them flicked their sleeves and departed. This was already a threat to Qin Wentian. How could Qin Wentian care about this? He owed the heavenly talisman realm, and had a sense of belonging to the heavenly talisman realm back then. However, they wanted the Evergreen Kingdom to submit, and even wanted to destroy the Evergreen Kingdom. They even forced Jun Mengchen to betray the Evergreen Kingdom, and wanted to hunt down Jun Mengchen. In that case, their deaths back then could be considered to have been severed. After the heavenly talisman realm, another guest came to the Evergreen Kingdom. This time around, it was actually a guest from the powerful nine-tailed demon fox race. In addition, it was the fox goddess with breathtaking beauty. She personally came here to send someone back. Big Brother Qin. Beside the fox goddess, a sexy yet pure maiden could be seen. This was none other than Purgatory. When she saw Qin Wentian, her silhouette flashed as she actually leapt into Qin Wentian's embrace. Her life was bestowed to her by Qin Wentian. In this world, there was no one whose meaning to her could be compared to Qin Wentian. Back then when Qin Wentian died, she was filled with despair. She didn't expect that she would be able to see Qin Wentian standing before her again today. She was naturally filled with joy. Purgatory. Qin Wentian hugged Purgatory and patted her on the shoulder. He then turned his gaze to the fox goddess in the air. This was the woman he once defeated back then in the city of ancient emperors. Many thanks. Qin Wentian smiled. The fox goddess's expression was cold. She glanced at Qin Wentian and spoke. Someone entrusted this task to me. Now that the person has arrived, I will bid my farewell. After speaking, the fox goddess directly floated away, not lingering for even a moment. Purgatory walked out from Qin Wentian's embrace. Her eyes were filled with tears as she sobbed. That old demon is dead. Old demon? Qin Wentian's gaze froze. It's the old demon who has always been taking care of Little Rascal. He and Little Rascal were pursued by Jia Yema of the Foarok race, and the king of the Sun Gold demon race. In the end they were killed and Little Rascal escaped. Purgatory sobbed. Back then when Qin Wentian was killed, it was that old demon who had been taking care of her and Little Rascal all these years. The old demon had a relationship with the nine-tailed fox race, and had entrusted her to the care of the nine-tailed fox race. After hearing the news that Qin Wentian was still alive, she asked the nine-tailed fox race to send her back. Qin Wentian's heart trembled as he felt a sense of melancholy. He thought back to that old demon who was together with Little Rascal back then. Although he wasn't familiar with that old demon, he still felt a sense of sadness in his heart. Where's Little Rascal? Where is he now? I'll go look for him. Qin Wentian spoke. Purgatory shook her head. I only know that he was chased all the way into the depths of the desolate mountains. He should have been injured and I don't know where he is now. However, his concealment abilities are very strong. He should be fine. Little Rascal could transform into a myriad of forms, and was also extremely intelligent. Foarok race, Sun Gold demon race. An intense killing intent gushed forth from Qin Wentian. Rumble. At this moment, the entire space trembled as a terrifying screen of light manifested in the air. A fearsome might actually penetrated through space as a beam of destructive light directly shot towards the Emperor Palace of the Evergreen Immortal Empire. A few figures soared up into the air. They were none other than Qin Wentian's subordinates. Emperor light radiated from them, blocking the beam of light. Qin Wentian, you actually didn't die. A cold voice thundered through the air. Qin Wentian slowly soared up into the air. He could see that the space around him had been pierced through. There were people attacking the Evergreen Kingdom from afar. This was the treasure of Old Devil Duo Tian, the heaven-seizing bowl. Back then on the Demon God Mountain, Old Devil Duo Tian had used this method to attack Qin Wentian. Through the hole in space, he could see a black-colored palace. Over there, a few faces could be seen. Old Devil Duo Tian, Zidi and Eastern Sage. Their gazes were cold, radiating killing intent as they shot towards Qin Wentian. There's a path to heaven but you refuse to take it. There's no gate to hell but you want to barge in. Qin Wentian's expression was like ice. Eastern Sage and Zidi finally appeared, and they even took the initiative to send themselves to his doorstep. Qin Wentian stretched out his palm. In an instant, a terrifying void palm imprint directly traversed through space, following the direction of the beam of light. The eyes of Old Devil Duo Tian flashed as he coldly spoke. What's going on? Where did he get his spatial abilities from? The heaven-seizing bowl shone with a terrifying light, unceasingly penetrating through space, destroying Qin Wentian's attack. However, Qin Wentian stepped out as numerous spatial gates appeared. Qin Wentian walked towards one of the spatial gates and in just an instant, he traversed through space and appeared. In the next instant, Qin Wentian directly appeared in the territory of Old Devil Duo Tian. Staring down at Old Devil Duo Tian, Eastern Sage and Zidi. Chapter 1683. In the towering mountain range, there were numerous majestic black palaces. Old Devil Duo Tian, Zidi and Dongxing Heaven Emperor stood in the airspace above an ancient palace. Upon seeing Qin Wentian, Old Devil Duo Tian's expression was as unsightly as it could be. He used the Heaven-Seizing Arms Bowl to attack, wanting to probe how strong Qin Wentian was. The Heaven-Seizing Arms Bowl was an extremely powerful Emperor-ranked weapon that could traverse space to attack. As long as he knew the exact location of Qin Wentian, although he didn't know where Qin Wentian was, he knew that there was no mistake in attacking the evergreen Immortal Empire's imperial palace. Naturally, Old Devil Duo Tian wouldn't be so foolish to think that he would be able to kill Qin Wentian just by relying on the Heaven-Seizing Arms Bowl. He only wanted to see what level Qin Wentian was at exactly before he decided to deal with him. After all, they were going to face this enemy. However, he clearly didn't expect that Qin Wentian would directly use the Heaven-Seizing Arms Bowl to traverse space and arrive here. Qin Wentian's attainments in spatial energy were even higher compared to him. Just a single attack from Qin Wentian was enough for Old Devil Duo Tian to know how terrifying Qin Wentian was. Zidi and Dongxing Heaven Emperor also didn't understand what was going on. They knew that Qin Wentian was proficient in spatial energy, and they knew that he definitely didn't have any spatial attribute energy. However, that spatial gate clearly contained spatial energy. Qin Wentian could even traverse space and directly appear here. They couldn't understand what was going on. After that, the eyes of Zidi and Dongxing Heaven Emperor were filled with hatred. As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes would turn red. The grudge between Zidi, Eastern Sage, and Qin Wentian was simply too deep. This was especially so for Eastern Sage. Ever since Qin Wentian left this particle world, the grudge between them had already been formed. They couldn't coexist under the same sky as Eastern Sage. Zidi was the same as well. He had a grudge against Qin Wentian for killing his son. These two illustrious figures of the immortal realms had similarly oppressed Qin Wentian into an extremely sorry and miserable state all those years ago, and he'd almost been killed by them. As for Old Devil Duo Tian, he helped the Eastern Sage Immortal Emperor to kill him. Now he even took in Zidi, plotting to deal with him once again. This could already be considered as a fight to the death. Qin Wentian, how dare you come here? I want to see whose hell this is. The Dongxing Heaven Emperor coldly spoke. Although he could sense that Qin Wentian might be very powerful, this place was the old lair of Old Devil Duo Tian. Qin Wentian's Immortal Emperor army wouldn't be able to descend here. Chongqing the Great and the others didn't come as well. Qin Wentian was alone, the three peak stage Immortal Emperors, and the followers of Old Devil Duo Tian. Qin Wentian glanced at Eastern Sage, his eyes filled with disdain. He emotionlessly spoke, "Old dog Eastern Sage, it has been so many years since we last met. You are still as retarded as ever." "You!" Eastern Sage roared in rage. Emperor Light flashed as he punched out with his fist. Millions of fist shadows descended from the sky, smashing towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian stared at the sky filled with fist shadows as he stood there arrogantly. His body glowed with a bright light, allowing the towering fist shadows to slam into his body. Thunderous rumbling sounds rang out, but the fist shadows had no way to break through the barrier. Finally, the fist shadows dissipated. "Old dog, are you trying to tickle me?" Qin Wentian stared at the ugly expression on Eastern Sage's face as he spoke. Old Devil Duo Tian's personality was extremely cautious and cunning. He was also extremely cruel, and when he saw this scene, he was already thinking of a path of retreat in his heart. Although Eastern Sage's attacks couldn't be considered too strong, he was still a peak-stage immortal emperor after all. A single strike from him could cause mountains and rivers to change color. However, Qin Wentian actually stood there unmoving. It was impossible for him to do this. Even the 3 peak-stage immortal emperors might not be able to do anything to Qin Wentian. More and more experts soared up into the air, releasing their auras as Emperor Light flashed. Qin Wentian swept his gaze over. Old Devil Duo Tian was infamous outside. He was extremely famous in the immortal realms. He was an independent entity and had many famous subordinates under him. When they were being hunted down by others in the immortal realms, they would choose to join Old Devil Duo Tian. Back then, when the Eastern Sage Immortal Emperor was destroyed by the 1,000 Transformations Immortal Sect, the Eastern Sage Immortal Emperor was in an extremely miserable state. For revenge, he chose to join Old Devil Duo Tian. The Violet Emperor was pursued by Emperor Yu for many years, and eventually, he was forced to follow in the footsteps of Eastern Sage. The experts in the air above the Black Palace were all ruthless characters. Since this was the case, he didn't feel any burden in his heart. Rumble! With an intention of his will, an instant later, boundless radiance manifested in the air, as well as countless sharp swords, enveloping the entire space. The swords appeared in the air, enveloping the entire Darkness Mountain range. At this moment, it was like the end of the world had arrived. Old Devil Duo Tian, Zedi and Eastern Sage inclined their heads as terror could be seen on their faces. This entire world seemed to be filled with light and swords, wanting to cleanse all the impurities in the world, purifying all evil. This scene was too terrifying. Qin Wentian stretched out his hands. His will seemed to have transformed into the will of the heavens and earth, or at the very least, represented the will of this entire world. This, Old Devil Duo Tian's expression contorted. The hand that was holding onto the heaven-seizing bowl was trembling. He had always been wise and wise, yet today, was he going to be implicated to death by Zedi and Eastern Sage? The others were all shocked as well. Many of them directly knelt down. "Senior, we were only forced to serve Old Devil Duo Tian. We didn't do it willingly, please forgive us." These people all felt a surge of heavenly might, an irresistible heavenly might. Zedi and Eastern Sage's hearts pounded unceasingly. Their bodies trembled as they stared at Qin Wentian. They were truly afraid, truly afraid. Right now, how could Qin Wentian still be the young man from before? How could he still be a junior that they could kill with a flick of their fingers? The Qin Wentian who had returned today could easily destroy them. "All the sins in this place shall be cleansed from now on," Qin Wentian faintly spoke. At this moment, a beam of light and sword might descended from the sky, landing on the mountain range below. Under the light, numerous faces of despair could be seen. They didn't even have the strength to resist. Regardless of their cultivation bases, immortal kings or immortal emperors, they couldn't escape from this world-destroying might. When the sword might of light landed, the Black Mountain range was razed to the ground, transforming into a deep crater. Many years later, this place would become a treasured cultivation ground where one could comprehend the will of a sage. With a single thought, the heavens and earth were destroyed. Only Old Devil Duo Tian, Zedi and Eastern Sage were still alive. At this moment, the last strand of hope they had was shattered. They knew what they were going to face. Terror filled their hearts. "Qin Wentian, I have no grudge with you. My actions against you were all instigated by that old dog Eastern Sage. I'm willing to kill him for you." Old Devil Duo Tian suddenly spoke, admitting defeat and begging for mercy. He understood what kind of situation they were facing now. Qin Wentian has already reached an unimaginable realm. This was a realm he had always been pursuing, but was unable to step into. Seeing that Qin Wentian had no reaction, Old Devil Duo Tian continued. In the future, I'm willing to follow you, only following you. Qin Wentian coldly stared at him. No grudges or grievances. Back then on the Demon God Mountain, I was merely an immortal king. You borrowed the power of the heaven-seizing bowl and ambushed me. If it wasn't for the Southern Phoenix matriarch helping me, I would have long been annihilated. How would I have the chance to stand here? As for followers, I don't lack them. As the sound of his voice faded, an incomparably resplendent beam of light cascaded down on Old Devil Duo Tian. Old Devil Duo Tian retreated with explosive speed, but how would he have the chance to escape? He struggled madly under the radiance of the light, but after that he was destroyed bit by bit, transforming into motes of light that vanished from this world. Old Devil Duo Tian, whose name shook the immortal realms, died just like that. He took the initiative to provoke Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to slaughter his way to his lair and kill him. Most probably, if news of this spread out, he would be the butt of everyone's jokes. The majestic black-colored palace had long been razed to flat ground, turning into dust. The radiance illuminated the sky as the sword might bore down on their heads. Zidi and Eastern Sage both felt a sense of desolation and despair as they stared at the figure before them. Back then, they watched as a junior grew up. Now he actually stepped into that unfathomable realm? How many years has it been? Where did he get his light elemental energy from? I'm unwilling. Eastern Sage was like an enraged beast. His countenance contorted. Back then, I should have spared no expense to kill you. How would I have allowed you to have today? Zidi also felt the same way. He knew that there was no way for him to survive. Qin Wentian didn't even spare the people from Old Devil Duo Tian's lair, let alone them. Back then, he and Eastern Sage did indeed have a chance to kill Qin Wentian. It was just that at that time, Qin Wentian was too weak, an ant-like character. They didn't even bother to lower their statuses. An immortal emperor of a territory wanting to kill an immortal Foundation character. Wouldn't that be a joke? But after they discovered Qin Wentian's shocking talent, they no longer had the chance to do so. Right now, Qin Wentian could already easily crush them to death. Indeed, you should regret. But what you regret shouldn't be that you didn't kill me. Rather, you shouldn't have disobeyed Chongqing the Great's instructions and humiliated me because of your son Dongxing Ting. If it wasn't for that incident back then, I might already be a disciple of Eastern Sage. Thinking about it this way, I should be thanking you instead, granting me my wish. Qin Wentian emotionlessly spoke. The Dongxing Heaven Emperor's heart trembled. Wasn't Qin Wentian's words the truth? Back then he could have become Qin Wentian's master. If that was the case, given Qin Wentian's current achievements, how glorious would his Eastern Sage be in the immortal realms? Would the Dongshengshan Gate still be destroyed? When he thought of this, the pain in his heart grew even more intense. Zidi, there shouldn't be any grudge between us. Zi Daoyang's death was caused by Wuxia, but the arrogant you, the tyrannical you, actually vented your anger on me. Back then both of you were lofty, treating me like an ant, disdainfully toying with me. Who would have thought that after a few hundred years, the winds and clouds changed, the blue seas of the world turned into mulberry fields. Today, with the death of the two of you, everything shall come to an end. As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, light descended, illuminating the faces of Eastern Sage and Zidi. At the last moment of their lives, their expressions changed unceasingly. But eventually, they no longer struggled and calmly accepted the judgment of death. Hundreds of years had passed. The blue seas of the world turned into mulberry fields. Back then they were lofty existences. When had they ever cared about the opinions of a minor character? In addition, it was unknown how many minor characters like Qin Wentian were. But how many could be like Qin Wentian? Everything could only be said to be a joke of fate. As the light descended, Zidi and Eastern Sage vanished. Very swiftly, news circulated out of the immortal realms. Old Devil Duo Tian, Zidi and Eastern Sage had all died, killed by Qin Wentian alone. Old Devil Duo Tian's subordinates were also annihilated along with them. Even his headquarters was buried. From now onwards, there was no more old devil duo Tian, Ziti and Eastern Sage in the immortal realms. Suddenly, there were 3 less characters in the immortal realms. Chapter 1684. In the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, because of the deaths of old devil duo Tian, Ziti, Dongxing Heaven Emperor and the others, the entire Azure Mystic Immortal Realms trembled. Right now, many people were guessing how strong Qin Wentian was exactly now. Back then, during the battle in the Evergreen Kingdom, he killed 3 immortal emperors. At that time, he was only at the Immortal King realm. Based on this deduction, his cultivation base should be at the peak stage of the Immortal Emperor realm now. In that case, for immortal emperors, there shouldn't be many who could defeat Qin Wentian. Wanting to kill Qin Wentian was as difficult as ascending the heavens. Unless another war of geniuses occurred and half of the major powers in the immortal realms participated in the slaughter. Just when everyone was still discussing the deaths of old devil duo Tian and the others in the desolate lands, on the towering ancient mountain range, there were many gigantic palaces constructed. These palaces were much larger than the palaces of the humans. Because this was the Foarok race, and the greater demons of the Foarok race lived here. At this moment, in the airspace above this towering mountain range, a white-robed figure suddenly appeared. His gaze was fixed on the area below, his white robes fluttering in the wind. Hoochie! The whistling sound of the wind abruptly rang out as terrifying sound waves tore through the air. Many greater demons shot up into the air with lightning speed, staring at the white-robed figure. There were many different types of greater demons that appeared. The majority of them were flying beasts, but there were also some greater demons of the Foarok race that possessed the bloodline of phoenixes. Naturally, it wasn't possible for all the greater demons of the Foarok race to be phoenixes. Such mutated greater demons were extremely rare, and they were all the kings of their race. They controlled many other demonic beasts that possessed their bloodline, and enslaved many greater demons that didn't have a bloodline connection with them. Qin Wentian didn't look at these demonic beasts. His immortal sense enveloped the lair of the Foarok race. A strand of his immortal sense directly penetrated through the layers of obstructions, entering an incomparably majestic demon cave. Jiayema, scram out here. Qin Wentian's voice was transmitted directly into the body of a greater demon that was hovering in the cave. That greater demon opened his eyes as a terrifying light radiated from his eyes. After which, he slowly stood up and spread his wings. His eyes flickered as he disappeared from sight. Jiayema, an emperor of the Foarok race. He had an incomparably terrifying bloodline of the Foarok race, and had innate techniques. With a flash, he directly soared through the air. Qin Wentian only felt an attack faster than lightning, sharper than a sword slashing towards him. It was too fast, so fast that ordinary peak stage immortal emperors wouldn't even have time to react. This was the innate ability of the Foarok race, extreme speed. However, the opponent Jiayema encountered was none other than Qin Wentian. With a stomp of his foot, the entire space trembled as the mountains in the surroundings crumbled under the pressure of that terrifying rhythm. After which, all the demons only saw Qin Wentian blocking Jiayema's attack. A gigantic palm imprint appeared before him, forcing Jiayema back. Jiayema's speed was too fast, he spun in the air like a phantom. With a howl, Qin Wentian was enveloped by the flames of a phoenix, directly burning him up. Jiayema's wings flapped again as lightning shot out. A pair of incomparably terrifying claws containing indomitable might slashed downwards. Qin Wentian appeared extremely tiny under his claws. Terrifying innate techniques manifested within those claws. It was like numerous divine birds of the heavens and earth appeared, wanting to crush Qin Wentian's body. Countless greater demons spiraled in the air, revolving around Qin Wentian, watching the battle between their king and Qin Wentian. Although Qin Wentian was extremely famous now, Jiayema was their king, the king of the Foarok race. How powerful was he? They didn't believe that Qin Wentian would be able to defeat their king at the same cultivation realm. Qin Wentian stretched out his hand and stabbed out with a finger. His sword transformed into a heavenly rock, destroying the divine birds. Qin Wentian stretched out his palm, causing the heavens and earth to tremble violently. Qin Wentian's body actually expanded rapidly as his palm grew larger as well. His gigantic frame resembled a divinity as he directly grabbed onto Jia Yema's claws. Jia Yema roared, folding his wings together as he slashed towards Qin Wentian. That pair of wings slashed out with the might of millions of divine weapons. He opened his mouth and spat out phoenix divine flames, wanting to destroy everything. But at this moment, countless vines appeared around Qin Wentian. He seemed to have transformed into a tree demon. Countless vines grew out from the rocks, coiling around Jia Yema's sharp claws, wanting to bind his gigantic body. The divine weapon slashing over was blocked by a resplendent golden Buddha body. After that, Jia Yema's wings were also bound as he struggled madly. How powerful was the Jia Yema? But at this moment, despite his frenzied struggles, Qin Wentian didn't budge at all. Qin Wentian continued to bind the Jia Yema. Incomparably resplendent sharp swords bloomed. Qin Wentian directly pierced them into the stomach of the Jia Yema. The Jia Yema screamed in agony as he struggled even more intensely. Numerous terrifying greater demons rushed over, only to see Qin Wentian bringing the Jia Yema up into the air. After that, he stood on the back of the Jia Yema and directly plucked out the feathers of the Swordsmanship. Fresh blood flowed everywhere as screams of agony rang out unceasingly. The Jia Yema trembled violently, shuttling through the air unstably. Qin Wentian unceasingly plucked out the feathers of the Jia Yema as his screams of agony shook the heavens and earth. The experts of the Swordsmanship race frenziedly rushed over, surrounding the space, but they had no chance to act against Qin Wentian, who was on the back of the Jia Yema. At this moment, Qin Wentian's hand was as sharp as a blade, even more ironic than a sword. He directly pierced into the head of the Jia Yema, slicing through it and plucking out one of its tendons. An incomparably mournful scream rang out, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Such a tragic state caused the experts of the Swordsmanship race to go crazy as they surrounded Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian stood arrogantly on the back of the Jia Yema. Right now, the Jia Yema's entire body was covered in blood, and he was on the verge of death. At this moment, a spatial gate appeared beside Qin Wentian. Within a month, send the news of my return to Little Rascal. If he doesn't return within a month, I will pluck out the feathers on his body and use them to refine a weapon. I will pluck out the tendons on his body and refine them into zither strings. Qin Wentian spoke. After that, he dragged the incomparably miserable Jia Yema into the spatial gate. After that, the spatial gate flickered and they vanished from sight. Countless demonic beasts let out frenzied roars as they fell into complete chaos. However, they didn't know what to do at this moment. Qin Wentian's domineering arrival had plucked out the Jia Yema's feathers and tendons. Who among them would be able to deal with Qin Wentian? The Jia Yema was the emperor of the Swordsmanship race, the strongest expert of the Swordsmanship race. But because he dealt with Qin Wentian's demonic beast companion, he was actually in such a miserable state. Naturally, the Jia Yema wasn't alone, because after dealing with him, Qin Wentian arrived at the Gold Sun race. The arrogance of the experts from the Gold Sun race towered up into the sky, bathing in the divine flames of the sun. This was especially so for their king. He was terrifying to the extreme, like a sun god. But not long after, his ending was the same as the Jia Yema. Like a dead dog, he was dragged away by Qin Wentian and was brought to the imperial palace of the Evergreen Kingdom. At this moment, the news of Old Devil Duo Tian, Zedi and Eastern Sage's deaths had just circulated through the immortal realms. In fact, there were still many places that hadn't received the news, yet the Jia Yema and the king of the Gold Sun race were thrown into the imperial palace of the Evergreen Kingdom by Qin Wentian. This news soon circulated together with the news of Old Devil Duo Tian and the others. The people of the immortal realms were so shocked that they were speechless. The waves in their hearts were unable to calm down even after a long time. Too violent, too tyrannical. That was the king of the Swordsmanship race and the king of the Gold Sun race. Both of them were supreme existences among the demonic beasts. Even in the desolate mountain range, they were terrifying existences with heaven-defying combat prowess. In the city of ancient emperors, there was basically no one who dared to antagonize them. However, before the eyes of their clansmen, they were plucked by Qin Wentian. This was simply too miserable. There were people who started to spread the details of the two battles. Many people sighed when they heard the news. In the immortal emperor realm, Qin Wentian was invincible. No one could defeat him. A supreme demon-level genius, unrivaled in the immortal emperor realm. If ancient emperors didn't appear, who could contend against him? They finally understood why the powerful Ying clan and the terrifying 9 emperors' immortal state were all annihilated. Because right now Qin Wentian already had the strength to stand above everyone else. The Foarok race and Gold Sun race suffered great humiliation, but they didn't dare to kill their way into the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. After personally witnessing that battle, they saw how ruthless Qin Wentian was. They were filled with a deep fear towards Qin Wentian. They started to transmit this news back to the desolate mountain range, hoping that this news would reach the ears of Qin Wentian's demonic beast companion, telling him to hurry back to look for Qin Wentian. If not, if that baleful god went crazy, their king would surely be in for it. Because of a single sentence brought back by Purgatory, the 2 demonic beast hegemons were now lying on the ground of the Evergreen Kingdom Palace, on the verge of death. Both of them were in an extremely miserable state. The Evergreen Immortal Emperor and the others stared at the 2 powerless hegemons lying on the ground before glancing at Qin Wentian. They could only sigh in admiration at how demonic he was. Other than this, what else could they say? Purgatory's beautiful eyes spat out flames as she stared fixedly at the 2 demonic beast hegemons. The old demon was killed by them, and little rascal was forced to flee for his life. Now that her big brother Qin has returned, they could finally vent their frustrations. Purgatory, I told them to transmit the news. Can little rascal hear it? Qin Wentian asked. These 2 demonic beast hegemons have extremely high prestige in the desolate mountains. If they transmitted the news, little rascal should know about it. Purgatory nodded heavily. She thought of the old demon again as her eyes turned red. Qin Wentian rubbed Purgatory's head and pinched her cheeks. It's all in the past, don't think about it anymore. Purgatory leaned on Qin Wentian. She would only be like this when she was in front of Qin Wentian. She was born because of Qin Wentian, and had a strong sense of attachment to him. During this period of time when Qin Wentian was away, it was the old demon who took care of her. This was why she was so sad. Spread the news. A month later, I, Qin Wentian, will invite all the heroes of the immortal realms here to settle all the grudges in the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Qin Wentian spoke. The eyes of Chongqing the Great, GD and the others flashed. Qin Wentian wanted to announce this to the world, summoning all the heroes of the immortal realms here. This time around, would it be the same as in the past? Half of the major powers in the immortal realms would join forces to surround and kill Qin Wentian. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.